Next man up, 102.5, The Game. Happy Tuesday, Nashville. Jake Lyman and Parker Kelley broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville Studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Hope everybody's morning is off to a great start. Parker, you and me again today. Dr. Crain helping out with chasing Big Joe. So we continue to plug along here. We'll have Corey tomorrow. You texted me yesterday. You were able to watch the home run derby.
I was able to access the home run derby. Shout out to my college roommate Maz for hooking me up with his password. I was able to watch it in its entirety, and also nobody spoil anything for me if they've seen quarterback already. I am planning on watching it tonight.
Yeah, I know. I've seen some tweets already that people are diving into it. I hate that they dropped the whole season at once because it makes me feel like I have to go watch all of it. I don't think I have.
Did they release the whole thing?
It's the whole thing, yeah.
Gosh, yeah, it might take me a week or two to
I was going to say, I don't think I have 8 hours today to watch the whole thing. I don't know if
at
anybody
least episode
does.
1.
How about we do this? Me and you try and stay on the same track, and maybe I'll text Corey and see if he wants to stick with our book club here.
Maybe an episode a day.
Let's watch episodes 1 and 2 today. Let's see if we can get that done.
We can
1
do
and
that.
2 today, and then we'll go along as we see fit beyond that.
But if because there are people that are going to binge this thing,
right?
Do not spoil it for the rest of us.
I mean, I think part of it's going to get spoiled for us. It's going to be tough to avoid spoilers, but I mean, it's not like it's something we don't know how it ends, right? Like, yeah, we might have a couple of Cam Ward quotes or stories get spoiled for us, but I remember how that season went. It wasn't a very good ending. So I think it'll be okay. But yes, let's try and do episodes 1 and 2 tonight.
You got yourself a deal.
And I can't wait. We can reconvene tomorrow. I'll text Corey. I'll see if he wants to join in and see if he wants to watch the first 2 episodes. If not, we'll catch him up. But we'll talk about it tomorrow. Speaking of Netflix, though, Home Run Derby, what were your thoughts on the Netflix element of it? I actually thought they had a really good crew with Barry Bonds on the panel. Al Duncan was hosting their pregame, and they kept jumping in, which I thought was a little strange. Like, she was doing play-by-play for some of the hitters too, which was a little bit weird. But then they had Matt Vasgersian and Hunter Pence and Albert Pujols. I thought it was a pretty good group that they had as their broadcasters for Netflix at the very least.
Yeah, I like the analysts. I like Albert Pujols. I liked Barry Bonds. It's just obviously, if you have the opportunity to broadcast the Home Run Derby, you're going to take it. I just miss Chris Berman.
Me too.
I just miss that aspect. I miss it, being on regular cable, ESPN. I know Fox is doing the All-Star game tonight. I would have preferred it to be on one of those, cable outlets, but it was okay. It wasn't my favorite. It was okay.
I thought it was fine. They needed to have the leaderboard on the screen, or at least tell us more about what the hitters needed in the first round. They did better as it went along. Once it got to a bracket style, it was all right, Caminero hit 5, Jordan Walker needs to hit 6. So at the very least, they figured it out. But early on, when it got to hitter number 6, and they needed a leaderboard up there to be able to tell us, all right, here's where the top 4 are. Here's what they need to give themselves a chance. That was my one big complaint with it early on. But overall, I thought it was fine. The format was great. I thought the format was exactly what you needed. It kept it concise. It didn't drag out, but it had drama. And the last matchup with Schwarber and Walker, and the Philly fans booing Jordan Walker because they wanted Schwarber to win, and Walker pulling off just an improbable comeback with – he had 5 home runs with 6 swings left, and he needed to, I know that he could keep swinging on the last one, but basically had to be perfect the rest of the way. And he did it, and he won. It was great. Jeff Passan said yesterday he thought the format was going to suck.
I did see that.
He has since retracted those comments. I thought the format was perfect. Stick with that. Never go back to the timer. I thought it was great.
I liked it as well, and I think it made for interesting drama towards the end. There was something special about Kyle Schwarber. I know Bryce Harper was a first-round exit, but Kyle Schwarber being in the finals versus Jordan Walker, that drama was fascinating because the way Kyle Schwarber was hitting, and I thought there was no way.
Right?
I thought there was no way Jordan Walker was going to compete. And then Jordan Walker did what he had to do to win. My only complaint with some of the camera angles is I would have liked to see some of the pitches better and the hitters actually hitting the pitches. I would have liked to see some different angles on that. I wasn't a huge fan of the camera angles personally.
The one thing that was better with it, though, I agree with you. Some of the camera work was a little strange because like there were balls that they'd shoot it like it was a 500-foot home run and then it would land like halfway into the outfield. Like I get it. It's sometimes tough to judge, but I loved that you could actually watch the home runs land, though, because with the timer system, the rules were that you were supposed to wait for the ball to land before your pitcher threw the next one, but they were horribly enforced. So basically, it was just rapid fire, and the guys were just swinging as many times as you could. So you're missing the home runs, and even if one gets hit 500 feet, you couldn't watch it because they're already firing the next one. This one at least allowed these guys to take their time, and I thought it was so much better than what we've had for the last decade with the time element. Keep it this way. I like the outs better. I thought it was better than the swings. I liked outs, but I'll do the compromise. I think the format was great last night.
No, I was certainly a fan of it as well. And some of those guys, I know I was texting you about, I know this guy did not advance to the semifinals, but he was still so much fun to watch. And that was Jack Caglione.
Yeah.
Because that dude was just hitting bombs.
I think that College World Series was one of the most fun that I've watched. That was the year with Cags and who was the
Skeens?
It was it was
there,
Skeens
right? That was his last
for
year?
LSU. Who was the left fielder for Florida who went third overall? He's on the Rangers now.
Was it Waldron?
It starts with a W. God, this is gonna kill me.
Wyatt?
Wyatt
Langford?
Yeah, Wyatt Langford. Yes, Wyatt Langford was with the Gators, and so was Jack Caglione. And then you had the Wake Forest team with Brock Wilkin and Rhett Lauder. That was an elite College World Series, and I loved watching Jack Caglione. I agree with you. He was fun to watch. Overall, I thought the Derby was great. They dragged out the pregame stuff a little too long. I was like, all right, let's just.
They didn't get started until
like
almost 7:30.
Yeah, like could we just get the show on the road? But overall, I thought it was great. All-Star game tonight in Philly. I do think the MLB All-Star game is really the last one that means something. The NHL, I would put in second. And when they did the Four Nations, that was the best All-Star event that I think we've ever seen. But I think in terms of just the actual All-Star games in the four major sports, the MLB one is the one that people actually really care about still.
I'm excited to watch it tonight. I think this in hockey, basketball certainly doesn't mean anything.
I mean, the Pro Bowl is the worst one.
Pro Bowl games or whatever it is now.
That one is the most meaningless All-Star game ever.
Yeah, no, I think the way they switched up the All-Star game in the NHL going to the Four Nations certainly brought a lot more intrigue. I'm excited for tonight. I really am. There was something just like admittedly, I'm a little bit newer to baseball. Like I haven't been a fan of it my whole life, but I'm certainly getting into it. But there was something just like almost nostalgic for me watching it last night.
Yeah.
It just like, man, like why haven't I been watching this stuff my whole life?
The All-Star events in baseball, it does take you back a little bit. The Derby and then the All-Star game, and the players actually care about winning the All-Star game. Now, it doesn't mean what it used to. I think it was 15 years ago that they ended the winner of the All-Star game, got home field advantage for the World Series. Maybe a little bit more recent than that. But so it used to actually matter where whoever won, which looking back, crazy that was the tradition for so long that the All-Star game decided which league got home field advantage for the World Series. But it actually meant something.
Right.
It doesn't mean that anymore, but I think the guys still care about it. The one story that I think is awesome was Zach Wheeler turning down the All-Star bid when he was like a fifth alternate. And if you look at his numbers, he has been absolutely insane this year. He's like 9-1, 10-1 with a 2.1 ERA. He has been so good, and he wasn't an All-Star pick initially. And he said, if you didn't want me at first, I'm not going to.
I love it.
I'm not coming out.
Keep that chip on your shoulder,
right.
baby.
I love it. I love it, especially in front of his home crowd. Like, it's not like he would have had to travel. It's Philly. Like, he would have just stayed.
By the way, I know Philly sports get a bad rap just because of how passionate the fan base is. but I almost got chills on my arm watching how they were booing the other guys and then cheering hard for Schwarber and Harper.
Yeah.
Like, I loved it.
Yeah. I see. Some people don't like it. Like 4312 texted. He says, not sure if you guys touch on it, but I enjoyed the home run derby last night. He said two things. He didn't like L. Duncan as the host, and Philly fans are terrible. Why are we booing people in a home run derby? I thought it was great.
They're passionate. I respect it.
It led to even more drama. And then watching Jordan Walker's parents in the sea of Philly fans who were booing their son celebrating when he hit the 12th home run, that was awesome. It was awesome. I have no problem with the Philly fans booing. They wanted their hometown guy to win. That's always what's great about these home run derbies is usually there's a hometown player. Bryce Harper won it in 18 with the Nats, and I thought that was great. But they wanted Schwarber to win. They were booing Jordan Walker, and he shut them up.
Wouldn't you do the same thing if it was your team?
Right. I think that was that. 4312's a Cardinals fan, so he wanted
sense.
Jordan Walker to win.
Sense.
Hey, congratulations! Yeah. He did text us yesterday and said he's picking Jordan Walker. We
talked a lot about Jordan Walker. We did pick Schwarber.
I did say I picked three guys. I picked Schwarber, Caminero, and Walker, and they were three of the four.
All the semifinals,
in the semis. I did not think Wilson Contreras was going to do as well.
Wilson Contreras killed it in the first round.
He did.
He killed it, and he was the first guy up, right?
Yeah. He stepped up and hit 13 on 20 swings, and I was man, he set the ball.
That was great.
It was great. I love the home run derby last night, and I implore the MLB to keep that format because I think it was so much better than the timing based where you just didn't even get to see all of the home runs. 615-737-1025 is the phone number if you want to text or call. We got a fun show planned for you today. Nick Suss from the Tennessean will join us at 10 a.m. going to talk some Titans as we gear up for training camp. And again, quarterback is out today, with Cam Ward being featured among the four quarterbacks. Dustin from Hopkinsville texted in about that. He says, Callahan gets fired unexpectedly. Spoiler alert. So there you go. If you haven't watched quarterback yet, plug your ears. We will also have Jake Crain from On3 join us at 11:15 to talk some college football. Excited for that as we get ready for SEC Media Days coming up next week. And speaking of that, let's talk some Vandy and some Vols coming up. These two teams heading into big years in 2026. Vandy trying to move on from the Diego Pavia era. The Vols looking to bounce back after a disappointing year last year with a new quarterback under center. We'll get into all of it coming up next. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelley with you on this Tuesday morning. Next Man Up, 102.5 The Game. Next man up, 1025, the game. Jake Lyman and Parker Kelley with you. Going to talk some college football here in the first hour. Nick Suss from the Tennessean going to join us at 10. We'll talk some Titans then. And Jake Crain, the host of the Crain and Cone show on 3, will join us at 11:15. We'll get his thoughts on the local teams around here and much more around the world of college football. But let's start with those local teams, Vanderbilt and Tennessee. We've talked about it plenty, Parker, that both of these teams heading into big years. Clark Lee and Vanderbilt wanting to prove that there is upward trajectory for this program, regardless of whether Diego Pavia is the quarterback or not. The Vols trying to prove that they can be a national contender under Josh Heupel after an 8-win season last year. I want to look at what are the biggest strengths on these teams and biggest weaknesses as we view it right now heading into the 2026 season. Starting with Vanderbilt. I think the running back room is probably the best position group on this Vanderbilt team. They bring back Cedric Alexander. They bring back MK Young. They've got James L. Lassiter, who was a huge big play threat last year for the Doors, especially early on in the season. He had a huge touchdown against South Carolina that helped put that game away on the road. I think that is going to be absolutely massive for Jared Curtis as a young quarterback to have an experienced group of running backs behind him that Tim Beck can lean on as an offensive play caller. And again, Curtis not named the starter. It could be Blaise Berlowitz, but whoever it is going to be inexperienced as a starting quarterback in the SEC. Having a good run game and a good group of running backs behind him that they can lean on, I think is going to be crucial for his development as they kind of I'm sure there's going to be a learning curve here where they're not going to lean on the young quarterback, the inexperienced quarterback early on in the season.
No, yeah, I still think this offense is going to be a strength. Obviously, the running back situation is ideal. I want to look at the offensive line because the offensive line was a huge strength for this team last year. Mean, nasty, Cade McDonald or McConnell, excuse me, the only returning offensive lineman. But if you look at who they got in the portal, they made 3 offensive line additions in the portal, all of which I believe are going to be starters for this team. So I do think that even though you're having some churn at that in that position room specifically, I think that can be a strength and not only help this run game with 2 returning running backs, but also a true freshman who is making a big leap to where he played in high school to where he's playing now in the SEC. That should help ease the process, ease the curve a little bit for a young quarterback in Jared Curtis.
Right. And I think we saw, even with Diego Pavia, they were leaning on the run game a decent amount. Early on in that Tennessee game, it was the Cedric Alexander show. And with whether it's Curtis, whether it's Berlowitz, they're going to have to come in and make plays. You can't just run the ball 50 times a game and expect to go win. But I do think having that can get you into more advantageous situations. Being in 2nd and 6 or 2nd and 5 instead of 2nd and 10 is going to give Tim Beck a little bit more leeway of what he can call for whoever the quarterback is. On the defensive side of the ball for Vanderbilt, I do like the defensive front. You get Isi Wataha back, which was a huge loss last year and him only playing in 2 games. You have Glenn Seabrooks in the middle. You bring back Miles Capers. You get Brian Allen, the transfer from Iowa. Like, it's a good group up front, and I think it's got some depth to it. Like last year, we saw them rotating that defensive line a lot, and that led to some big plays in big games for this team. So I'm excited to see what the defensive front can do for this Vanderbilt team. I think if I had to look at the 2 strengths for Vanderbilt, it's the running back room and it's the defensive front for the Commodores.
Well, yeah. So how about they got a transfer from Clemson, safety by the name of Ricardo Jones, 6 interceptions in 2025. So I think this guy, Ricardo Jones, can be the star for this defense. And also too, Jordan Matthews, who was primarily a backup last year, transferred from Tennessee, is probably going to be asked to take on a larger role this year. Martell Height returns, CJ Hurd. I feel more confident probably in the secondary group than any other position on the defense.
That is true too. I mean, the defense as a whole, solid. Like, I'm looking up and down this team. You've got Brian Longwell back at linebacker. Nick Rinaldi can step into a bigger role now that you don't have Langston Patterson or Randon Fontenette. You got Bryce Cowan back, who Kevin Ingram shouted out as a player he thinks can make some plays, as well as Andrew Allegretta. So I do like the defense as a whole. I think it's got some potential to be better than it was last year. I love CJ Hurd. I love watching that guy play. You haven't seen House of the Dragon, right?
No, I
The
haven't.
Game of Thrones spinoff. There's a character called the Sea Snake, and I think Vandy fans have given him that nickname because he of the dreads. So I like it. The Sea Snake going to make some plays this year in that secondary. Let's flip over to Tennessee. What are some strengths of this team? I do think that the run game as well is going to be a huge factor for this team. You look at the offense with the offensive line has a lot of talent on there. Deshaun Bishop in the backfield. I think you can say the same thing we said about Vanderbilt, that the run game can help whoever the young quarterback is. I think it's going to be a similar case for Tennessee this year.
No, one thing that often gets mistaken by people who really don't pay too much attention to Tennessee football is they think, oh, Josh Heupel, they're going to air it out.
Right.
Yes, that is true. They do, as long as Heupel has a guy that can run his system the way that he wants it run. But they run to pass because the run opens up the pass. If you look at the guys that Josh Heupel's had at running back, starting with this year and Deshaun Bishop, and then 2 years ago with Dylan Sampson, who broke a Tennessee and SEC single season yardage record, Jalen Wright, Jabari Small, the list goes on and on and on. He's always had a good run game at Tennessee, and that's supposed to open the pass. That's why things were able to work so well in 2022 with Hendon Hooker. So, yes, the story of Deshaun Bishop is incredible. He went to Carnes High School in Knoxville, was actually third all-time in the state of Tennessee in total rushing yards in a career, and was a walk-on, and now he's an all-SEC caliber player. So the run game is going to be a strength, and the offensive line, you got some returners there. Wendell Moy at left guard for you, Sam Pendleton returning at center. You are having to replace left tackle, but you're doing so with David Sanders,
Right?
Who's going to? I actually believe he's starting at. Yeah, I actually believe he's going to flip over to left tackle, and then LSU transfer Ori Williams is going to start at right. So offensive line should be a strength as well.
Yeah, I agree, and that's really important for. Again, we said the same thing with Curtis. Whether it's McIntyre, whether it's Brandon, having a strong run game with Deshaun Bishop, Oakland grad DeJuan Morris, and the offensive line, that's going to be big. And you're right. I always love people who don't watch Tennessee think that Josh Heupel is just complete air raid, like he wants to throw the ball all around the yard. And they do like throwing the ball. But the reason you spread the field as much as they do is to open up run lanes for your running back. And I think that's what makes Josh Heupel's offense really tough to defend, is if you do get wide and try and shut down the opportunities on the outside for the receivers, you're leaving yourself with a mismatch on the interior that can allow the interior of the offensive line to just get up to the second level, and Deshaun Bishop can take it from there. But if you pack the box, you're leaving yourself with one-on-one matchups on the outside that you can take advantage of. That's what makes Heupel's offense so unique and so effective.
Exactly. If you've ever watched them and you see they'll do the double stack wide splits on both sides, why do you think that is? To clear out space in the box so that they can run the football. Or if they do that, they'll just, dump it out wide for a screen. Lots of quick passes, getting the ball out of your hands quickly. I think that'll make things easier for whoever's starting at quarterback. There's certainly going to be a learning curve for whoever, because George McIntyre has, he's played in 2 games, very limited role. Faison Brandon's never played in college before. But the fact that he gets the ball out of his hands so quickly, that does help a young quarterback that's trying to make the jump to the SEC.
Yes, 100%. And I think both of these teams, we question the quarterback, and we can talk more about that in the next segment, but both of the offensive play callers are going to have the opportunity to lean on their run game to put their young quarterbacks in the best situations possible. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. We'll take your thoughts on our phone and text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Starting with college football this morning. Again, Nick Suss from the Tennessean going to join us talking Titans at 10 a.m. Jake Crain from On 3 will join us at 11:15. Jake, Lyman, Parker Kelley with you on this Tuesday morning. More Vols and Vandy talk on the other side here on Next Man Up, 102.5 The Game. This Sunday, 1025 The Game will have live coverage of the Borchetta Bourbon Music City Grand Prix race at the Nashville Super Speedway. Coverage begins at 5 p.m. and is brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical, and Big Shots in downtown Nashville. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelley with you, talking some college football here. Vanderbilt, Tennessee, both heading towards some big seasons for Clark Lee, for Josh Heupel, looking to take a step forward for Tennessee. Vanderbilt looking to prove that they are going to stay towards the top of the SEC beyond Diego Pavia. And we went through some of the biggest strengths for these teams. For Vanderbilt, the running back room brings back a whole lot of talent. The defense has some returners, some big transfers. For Tennessee, we think the offensive line, the running back room, and we didn't mention, I think that linebacker core for Tennessee is going to be very good with Arian Carter. You bring in a few transfers there as well. So that's a group for Tennessee to keep an eye on the defensive side of the ball. You mentioned it with Tennessee, Parker, in the break, that there's not a whole lot of glaring weaknesses for this team. Like, I don't know if there's a position group you look at and you say, that's really going to hold this team back, other than the quarterback situation. And these are both five-star recruits. So it's not like you look at it and say, you don't have options there. It's just a big question mark of what are these guys going to look like when the live bullets start flying in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, it's because at this point in time, you hate to say something is a weakness because there's no way of knowing for sure. But with Tennessee, it's more so, okay, you're going to have an inexperienced guy at quarterback, regardless of who it is. The offensive line situation, yes, you do have 4 returning starters, but David Sanders has never played left tackle in the SEC, and they did struggle a little bit in pass protection towards the end of last year. Does that fix itself? Same thing, you flip over to the defensive side of the football. Jim Knowles, his system is well known across the country that it takes a couple years to get down. He tried to ease that and bring in guys with him from Penn State, but losing Chaz Coleman really hurts because now he was supposed to start at edge. Now you got to find someone else. So the next guy up is a guy by the name of Jordan Norman, a transfer from Tulane, who they do feel confident in. But you're kind of going to have to change some things around in that scheme because Chaz Coleman was going to play such an integral role.
Yeah, I think that's the right way to put it there. Is it's not like the guys that they have stepping into these roles are bad. They're talented. It's just you don't know yet. You haven't seen them play at the SEC level. And that's something that, hey, some guys might step in and immediately flourish, but it is a big step up in talent no matter where you come from. And flipping back over to Vanderbilt, Matt from Paris does make the point here. He says, no matter what, the step up for Jared Curtis is going to be massive. I know he's very talented, but going from the lowest private classification in high school football in Tennessee to playing in the SEC, there's no preparing for that.
Sounds like he's dissing that classification.
Yeah,
which I will
Parker
have a huge
will
problem
take personally.
No, I get where he's coming
I understand what he's saying. I think that's being a little bit overblown because his 5-star status was not solely based on what he did on the field in his high school games. He's going to camps. He's working out in front of scouts. And again, having watched him in the spring game, he's got the talent, that any 5-star quarterback would have, regardless of what level of high school football they played. Georgia wanted him badly, and Vanderbilt was able to get him to flip. He has a ton of talent. I do understand what Matt is saying, that it's going to be very different going up against Auburn in his first SEC game, if he is the starter by then, and Georgia the week after that, than it is playing where he did in high school football. But he's going up against Vanderbilt's defense every day in practice. He's going to have some opportunities before SEC play to play some higher level teams. You play NC State the week before you play Auburn. I'm not as worried about the step up specifically for Jared Curtis from that. I just think for any young quarterback, there's going to be growing pains when it comes to playing in the SEC for the first time. And I'm sure we'll see that, but you just hope that throughout the season, you see him learn from his mistakes and end up looking like the player you expected him to be by the time you get to November and heading towards his sophomore season.
But it sounds like more than anything for Curtis, and we talked about this yesterday. I can't remember who. I think I was talking with Chase and Connor yesterday about Pat Coogan and how it was more so a physical development for him more so than mental. With Jared Curtis at Vanderbilt, It is the complete opposite, because I've had a couple conversations with Clark Lee. Physically, he's about as gifted as it gets.
Yes.
Mentally, there is going to be, not to say that he's not smart, that he's not a good leader or anything. He is, and they've been raving about that. There is going to be a little bit
There's
of
a lot to learn.
because taking the step up, it doesn't matter what level of high school you play to what level of college you play. The windows are a little bit tighter. The game speeds up. It's a lot faster. There is going to be a learning curve. It's just about how quickly can you get on the other side of that curve.
Yeah, and we talk about the NFL with rookie quarterbacks. Defensive coordinators love to throw the kitchen sink at them and see how they respond. I think that's going to be the case for if it's Brandon and Curtis for both these teams. True freshmen and McIntyre as well. Defensive coordinators are going to try and make things blurry for them, make a mistake. And odds are they're going to make a more than a handful of mistakes this year. It's about learning from them and not making the same mistake twice. But yeah, you're going to see a gauntlet in the SEC, and no one's going to make it easy on you as you try and develop as a quarterback. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Matthew in Nashville says, if Tennessee gets DGG, they'll have the best running back room in the country. Yeah, I've seen five-star recruit, running back. It looks like he's going to commit somewhat soon, right?
So between Tennessee and Ohio State,
Yep.
I'm sure other schools have tried to work their way in the mix, but for what I know, it's Tennessee and Ohio State.
Yeah, that would be a big get for
Tennessee has done everything they can to get this guy in. They're leaving no doubts on the table.
Yeah, at the Baylor school, class of 2027, 6'2", running back, ranked as the 12th best player in the country by 247 Sports. So,
and I will say this: I don't know if he's going to be the greatest running back to ever play college football, but what I will say is I've never seen anybody that looks like he does as a senior in high school.
Yeah,
it is ridiculous. Dude is built like an action figure.
Yeah, I mean that's a big frame for a 17-year-old kid, and we'll see if Tennessee is able to close the deal there. Matthew in Nashville also texts in. This is a good question. He says, on July 14th, 2026, so right now we're still almost 2 months before the season, who are 3 teams, any conference, who are being overhyped? Parker, is there anyone that comes to mind for you?
Ooh, that's a good question. Overhyped. I'm going to go with that is a good question. So in the SEC, them going to 9 conference games is going to, I think it is, we're going to see a lot of 9-3 teams that have a reasonable case to make the playoffs. If I were to pick maybe an overhyped team in the SEC, I think we do need to cool our jets a little bit on LSU. I know they spend a lot of money, and they may make the playoffs for all I know. But just because you have the ingredients doesn't mean you know how to make the meal, right?
Yeah.
Lane Kiffin still has to cook the meal, for lack of a better term, even though they've spent a lot of money. Just because you do spend a lot of money doesn't guarantee instant success.
That is a very good point. I think LSU, maybe we are putting the cart in front of the horse a little bit of just looking at the roster that they've assembled and saying, oh, that team has to be good. You do have to see it on the field, and they'll get Clemson in week 1. SEC team that I think is getting a little bit overhyped, and I do love this coach, and I said it last week when we were going through some of the top coaches, Texas A&M. The way they finished last year, I think they turned back into a pumpkin a little bit. The loss to Texas, then you lose to Miami in the college football playoff. I think they're going to be good, but I don't know if they're a playoff team this year. I'm going to say Texas A&M maybe is getting a little bit overhyped.
Well, it's hard for me to believe that Marcel Reed is going to take this enormous jump as a passer.
Yeah.
He's a very good runner and an adequate passer. If Marcel Reed takes a huge jump as a passer, I believe Texas A&M is in the national championship conversation. It's just hard for me to believe that he is.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think A&M and LSU are good ones in the SEC. Looking around the rest of the country, I don't know if there's a whole lot of like overhyping going on. Because like we talked about the ACC yesterday, it's Miami and everybody else. I would struggle to say that. I mean, maybe you could say like Louisville or SMU or something like that.
I don't think they're overhyped.
They're not getting overhyped.
Because a lot of people believe that the Big 12 and ACC both are one bid leagues.
Right.
So if you're looking for a overhyped team, it would have to come from the Big 10 or the SEC.
And the Big Ten, honestly, I see kind of more underhyped teams coming out of the Big Ten. Like you've talked about USC a lot. Like I think USC might be an underhyped team out of the Big Ten.
I'm very high on USC.
Maybe Washington, an underhyped team
Yeah.
with DeMond Williams back for another year.
But you can't, I mean, if you say Indiana or something, I mean,
Right.
Kurt Signetti's proved everybody wrong. I'm not doubting Indiana again.
I think there's 3 teams in the Big Ten that are hyped just as much as they should be. Indiana, Ohio State, Oregon. Maybe Penn State overhyped a little bit, but I don't know if you can even say that because they've kind of flown back under the radar.
I mean, Iowa State was a good team under Matt Campbell, and it's the same team pretty much.
Yeah.
I mean, Rocco Becht is there. They brought over their tight ends. They basically imported Iowa State into over where Penn State is.
Yeah.
And the schedule's so workable. So, I mean, there is a chance that Penn State goes 10-2, maybe squeaks in the playoff, but is a first-round exit.
Yeah.
Just because they're not on par with some of the other teams.
Right. There's a few on the text line here, and honestly, I think it might be mostly SEC teams who are being overhyped at this point. We mentioned Texas A&M. We mentioned Ole Miss. 2438 mentions Texas. Like Texas might be the number 1 team in the country in preseason. They did not make the playoff last year.
I believe in the hype.
I believe in Texas actually.
I believe in the hype.
I mean, Cam Coleman and Arch Manning, and I'm not a huge Arch Manning guy. I think he's being overhyped, but I do think he's a good quarterback, and giving him a target like Cam Coleman to add to that room, you've got one of the best tackles in the league, one of the best pass rusher in the country. So I would say Texas maybe slightly overhyped, but I am believing in the Longhorns this year.
I mean, they went out and they got one of the best linebackers in the country from Pitt, Rasheem Biles. They went out and they got Raleek Brown from Arizona State, who's a really good running back. They actually stole a transfer commit to Alabama and Hollywood Smothers, by the way, great name.
Right.
It's just hard for me to believe. Like, they went out and they got proven guys, not unproven. They went out and got proven guys. And Arch Manning played really well down the stretch.
Yeah.
He didn't start out that way, but he played really well down the stretch.
He did. He came into his own towards the end of the season. So I do think Texas maybe slightly overhyped because they might end up being the number 1 team in the country preseason, but I also think they're going to be a very good team this year.
I don't think Notre Dame is being overhyped.
Yeah, well, it's funny. We got two texts back to back. 9355 says Notre Dame. FPI puts them at 3, saying they're overhyped. 4312 says Notre Dame is being slept on. They could easily win it all. So maybe they're being hyped perfectly so far. And Pete from Adairville also says Ole Miss. I think Ole Miss may be being a little bit overhyped.
That may be fair. That may be fair.
Honestly, with Ole Miss, I'm just excited for that Week 3 game. I don't think they're going to be a playoff team this year. I'm just excited for LSU Ole Miss.
Well, it's hard to know too. Again, it's not necessarily a weakness. We just don't know what Pete Golding's going to be as a head coach.
He's only coached 3 games,
and it was great,
and it was good. Yeah, they went to the semifinals.
Is he going to do that?
They beat Georgia
in his first season as head coach? We don't know.
Yeah,
we can't necessarily say that he's not because we have no clue. They could.
Yeah,
I think Trinidad Chambliss might be the best returning quarterback, or one of at least.
I mean, he's definitely up there with the way he played in those playoff
I'd
games.
I'd throw CJ Carr in there.
Yeah, CJ Carr.
I would put Arch in there.
I would put Arch in the conversation.
Dante Moore, Julian Sayin.
Yeah. There's a lot of good returning quarterback talent, but we said the same thing last year, and we saw how that turned out. So we got to see the ball get put down and them actually start playing some games. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. We'll continue to take your thoughts on our phone and text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. You can also chat with us on our YouTube channel. Subscribe at 1025 The Game for live shows and exclusive content. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelley, next man up, 1025 The Game. Racing fans, don't miss this. 1025 The Game and Borchetta Bourbon present True American Racer, the Bobby Rahal story, this Friday at the historic Franklin Theater. Experience the story of an Indy 500 champion, team owner, and racing legend, plus a live Q&A with Mark Colley, Graham Rahal, and special guests. Get your tickets now at franklintheater.com. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelley, wrapping up the first hour of the show. Nick Suss going to join us at the top of the hour from the Tennessean, talking all things Titans. But a great question from Matthew in Nashville, asking us some teams that are overhyped at this point heading into the season in college football. We've got some other ones. Matthew in Nashville says Florida is being overhyped, especially from Josh Pate. I don't know about that. Like, I haven't seen the Josh Pate stuff, but
I know exactly what Josh is saying.
What is Josh saying?
So what basically Josh is saying is Florida, if you look at them the past 3 to 4 years, the pieces have been in place for them to win. Billy Napier, for whatever reason, was stubborn and refused to give up play calling duties. You bring it, and a lot of people have, I guess PTSD is the right term, because Billy Napier came from the Sun Belt, or from the Group of Five, and now John Sumrall is coming from the Group of Five. I just think they're two completely different coaches in terms of the mentality that they bring. If you look at Florida's roster, I do feel like they have a top-tier roster in the SEC. Now they just have to be able to go out, and hopefully they have the right coaches in place to be able to win.
Yeah, Florida's a program that can get things turned around quickly if they find the right coach. So I do think that they will be better this year. I don't know if I can say Florida's being overhyped, because no, it's not like anybody's taking Florida to go to the college football playoff this year.
They'll probably be a preseason top 25 team, but they'll be like 23, 24, 25.
Yeah.
I don't think that's like crazy.
I think they're probably not a top 25 team, but
and maybe they are.
We'll have to see. Steven says BYU. I think
No.
I think BYU is perfectly hyped. Like, they're being talked about as the second best team in the Big 12, and I think they are the second best team in the Big 12. Like, I think they
have the same team as last year.
Right. I think BYU is properly hyped. New York Doug, this might just be a shot at me, but I actually kind of agree with him. He says Virginia Tech is wildly overhyped. Franklin was bad at Penn State with their brand and reputation. I disagree with the fact that Franklin was bad at Penn State.
He was a top 8 coach in college football, I'd say.
Wore out his welcome at Penn State after a decade of being a very productive program. But I will say, I do think the Hokies are being overhyped this year. I think this is a 6 or 7 win team. And I think people are expecting more out of James Franklin in year one. I think they're going to be average and can hopefully build on that heading into 2027.
So when I looked at James Franklin's record at Vanderbilt and Penn State in his first year at Vanderbilt in 2011, they went 6-7. His first year at Penn State, they went 7-6.
Yeah.
So if Virginia Tech gets to 7 or 8 wins, would you say that's fair?
I would say 6 wins is a step forward. If you're bowl eligible this year, it's a step forward. I look at the schedule. VMI is a win. I would say Old Dominion's a win, and I guess I will, but that hasn't been the case basically for the last 5 years. I think Old Dominion actually has more wins over Tech in the last 5 games.
They did lose their starting quarterback.
Yeah, well, yeah.
He's now at Wisconsin.
Joseph is at Wisconsin. At Maryland, I think that probably should be a win. At BC should be a win. And then Stanford at home. You win one more game in there between Pitt, Cal, Georgia Tech, Clemson, SMU, and Miami and Virginia. I think it's a 6-win team. So I would say overhyped, yes, but Franklin was not bad at Penn State.
I don't think anybody's saying Virginia Tech's going to the playoff.
Yeah, I mean, there might be some people calling Virginia Tech a sleeper of like, oh, they've got James Franklin now. It's going to take a little bit more time than just 1 year to turn that ship around. They've been very bad for the last few years. Let's see. Matthew in Nashville says, is James Madison being underhyped? Or are we expecting the Florida version of Napier, who was a pretty good coach the last time he was in the Sun Belt? I mean, he's Sun Belt Billy for a reason.
He gave up play calling duties too. He's not calling plays at James Madison, which I think is a step in the right direction. It took getting fired for him to realize that.
They lost Alonzo Barnett, right?
Yes. He's at UCF now.
Gotcha. Yeah. Let's see. Their quarterback, Camden Coleman. I guess he was there last year. So, they got Davey Belfort, former former Hokie, his dad was a UFC fighter. I'm blanking on his first name, but Davey Belfort was a pretty big recruit to Tech who never actually played a snap for the Hokies. Craig says, as a diehard Notre Dame fan, this picture sums it up. With that being said, this is our year. It's a meme of Conor McGregor. It says, Notre Dame fans, this is our year. And then it's him blowing out his knee 1 minute into the fight. 4312 says, Texas Tech is overhyped. Everyone is going to play them so hard. I could easily see them missing the playoffs.
I could see Texas Tech having the same results as last year.
Yeah, they're going to get upset by somebody.
Will Hammond's capable, but they don't have a Brennan Sorsby to get them over the top in a national championship contention.
I agree. I think Texas Tech is Texas Tech of last year.
Because I do think the roster around the quarterback is better than it was last year, but they have basically, the same level of talent. They had Baron Morton last year. They have Will Hammond this year. Will Hammond won them games as the starting quarterback last year when Baron Morton was hurt.
I think they're going to be a good team, and they're going to be a great Big 12 team. Probably lose one game here or there, but they'll go 11-1. They'll win the Big 12. They'll get to the playoff, and they'll lose to one of the big boys in their first or second game. Like, I think that's what should be expected with Texas Tech. Like, it's so difficult to look right now and say who's overhyped and who's not, especially with the way college football is these days with transfers. Like, you just don't know how things are going to gel with different teams. I think LSU, like you said, is a perfect example of a team being overhyped because it's just a whole bunch of new pieces. They're throwing it together, and you don't know if it's going to look great. It looks great on paper, but we're not playing fantasy college football. The Barry Trotz, we're not playing fantasy hockey. Yeah, it sounds great. You spent all this money to go get these players, but you got to actually see how it goes when the ball gets put down.
It kind of bothers me when people say, you see how much money LSU spent? Yes, I know they're one of the top spenders in college football, but that doesn't guarantee you anything.
Yeah. No, I agree that, I mean, we bring up LSU baseball all the time. They go into the portal every year. It's brought them 2 national championships. It's also allowed them to miss
and LSU could make the playoff this year. They could also miss.
If I had to pick, I think LSU probably is a playoff team this year, but you just never know until they start playing games. So we're still a little bit under 2 months away from football, but
we do get games next month.
I know.
I believe, is it August 24th is when UNC and TCU play in Dublin?
Let's see.
So from today, we'll have 10 days in a month.
August 29th.
Oh, August
29th.
Okay, so last year was played on the 23rd.
Well, yeah, so this is the latest that the college football season can ever start because Labor Day is the first Monday in September. The first Monday doesn't come till the 7th this year.
So a month and 2 weeks until we get actual games.
Yes. Yeah. So we're getting close. We're getting close, but excited for college football season. August 29th. It's actually not a horrible week 0 slate. You got North Carolina, TCU in Dublin at 11 a.m. and then NC State, Virginia at 2:30, the game that was supposed to be played in Brazil.
Good gosh.
You
thought it was a good idea to play a college football game in Brazil.
You've got some decent games. You got Hawaii, Stanford.
That was a good game last year.
Memphis,
the Sickos were there.
Late game in Las Vegas. So
Dan Mullen, year 2.
You get North Dakota State's FBS debut at 4:30 against Jacksonville State. So not a horrible week 0 slate. I'm looking forward
for
to
North Dakota State this year. It's always been a dream of mine to go to the Fargo Dome. It's just kind of one of those random things on my bucket list. Yeah, I'd love to go to the Fargo Dome.
Well, yeah, it's funny. We were talking about Quincy Patterson yesterday. Won a national championship with North Dakota State at the Fargo Dome.
He did.
615-737-1025 is the phone number. When we come back, Nick Suss from the Tennessean is going to join us talking Titans. We will get into the Titans for the full 10 a.m. hour. Back into college football coming up at 11. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelley, next man up, 102.5 The Game. Next man up, 1025, the game, second hour on this Tuesday. Jake Lyman and Parker Kelley with you, broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. We start off the 10 a.m. hour by going to our phone lines, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. We are joined by Nick Suss, Titans beat writer at the Tennessean. Nick, appreciate you taking some time. How's it going this morning?
You guys are really interrupting my Netflix time this morning. So I guess I'm going to have to get off my laptop for a little bit and actually talk and do my job.
I know. We were a little jealous that we haven't been able to start quarterback yet. Going to get a little bit of an in-depth look at what Cam Ward's rookie season looked like. Anything that you're looking forward to seeing, any specific moment or game that you're excited to see from Cam Ward in this quarterback documentary?
I'm always more fascinated by the off the field stuff, the personality things, the actually figuring out who the human is. Because look, we all lived last season. I know there are many people listening who would prefer not to relive last season, and that is totally your purview if you're that kind of person. But I'm watching through, and I'm probably halfway through the second episode now, almost done the second episode. And the interesting stuff is like hearing Cam talk about I'll give you guys this. The first thing I've ever heard Cam Ward say that he's not good at is that he can't beat little kids in Fortnite anymore. That little kids are too good at Fortnite for him. And that is the first time I have ever heard him admit fallibility. One of the first things he says in the first episode is, Kobe was my favorite athlete until me.
Wow.
Like, he's Cam Ward, and we know who Cam Ward is. And yeah, I mean, he's Cam Ward. So a lot of it's kind of the confirmation bias of whoever you see him as, you're going to continue to see him as that guy. But it's fun. You kind of see the tender moments, the interesting moments of him taking a sack in week one and having to understand what he shouldn't have done, and him realizing he can still do some things that he likes to do, and him realizing there are other things he can't do. And it's interesting. It's fascinating, but it's also, we all know this. Let's not get the wool pulled over our eyes. It's a documentary made by the NFL about the NFL. So it's going to show what the NFL wants to show. There's not going to be some fist fight we hadn't heard about and all that stuff. Right. It's going to be what the NFL wants it to be.
And I know Titans fans excited to look back and see the behind the scenes look at Cam Ward from last year, but a big year coming up for Cam Ward. He's down throwing with his receivers in Miami this week, and training camp is just 2 weeks away. Specifically for you, what will you be looking for as kind of checkpoints, markers of progression for Cam Ward as he gears up for season number 2?
It's so hard to recognize this stuff, right? Like what I want to see is Cam Ward free to play the way that Cam Ward thinks he needs to play. So much of when I reflect on last year, and so much of when I think about, well, what actually was the progress? What actually was the step forward? It feels a little bit mirage-y. And I don't mean that in the sense that I don't think he made progress. It's that I don't know if he made progress that's productive to who he thinks he is and who he wants to be. I think back to that 4 or 5 week period in 2024 when Levis came back from the injury, and he was putting up good numbers week after week, and the Titans weren't necessarily winning, but you got to that Houston game and he put in the win, and everybody's like, okay, he's taking that step forward. But it was a little bit more of, no, he wasn't making turnovers. He wasn't making the terrible play. He was getting the ball downfield productively. They were sustaining drives. And it wasn't necessarily that his play as Will Levis was improving. It was his play as a lowercase q quarterback was improving. And I think to an extent that happened a little bit with Cam, where the running game was working and the offensive line found some cohesion. And he was playing with a bunch of guys who, frankly, would be his number 4 receiver this year. And he was putting up better numbers, and he wasn't turning the ball over, and he was playing efficiently, but it didn't strike me as the kind of Cam Ward that the Titans drafted him to be. So I want to see that efficiency, and I want to see that sustainability, and obviously you like to see the run game and all that stuff, but if you want him to be the franchise, if you want him to be the guy that turns this team around, the kind of success that he had last year needs to be background success. It can't be the whole of the operation. So how do you see that in training camp? I truly have no clue. I'm not going to pretend I have an idea of how you can see that in training camp, but you'll kind of see it with the play calls. You'll kind of see it with the risks he's willing to take, with the way he can control or assert himself instead of being part of a system. If he can start being a guy who is more than just the manager of efficiency and kind of the straw that stirs the drink, if that actually means anything. I've heard that cliche. I don't actually know what it means. But if he can be the guy, capital T, capital G, that's what I look for, instead of just is he completing passes and is he getting the ball where the play dictates and all that stuff. That's average quarterback stuff. That's not great quarterback stuff.
We're talking to Nick Suss of the Tennessean. Nick, maybe you can provide some optimism, because on this show we've been talking a lot about the offensive line, and I am one encouraged by what I've been able to see out at minicamp and OTAs with the type of scheme that Brian Daboll runs. Lots of option routes, and you've been out there as well, so you've seen this. So it forces Cam Ward to get the ball out of his hands quicker. But then my mind goes to, okay, well, what about when they need to go down the field and play action and they need to run the football? Because the way my mind works, I think, okay, well, you got to have a good offensive line to be able to do that. And outside of Peter Skoronski, there are just so many question marks across the board.
You're right. There are question marks, but I'm not going to call them question marks in the sense that, I mean, I said for so long coming through the 22 season, 23 season, even the 24 season, if you can get league average line play, if you can particularly get league average tackle play, just check that box and move forward. And I think that last year what the Titans got with Dan Moore and J.C. Latham was league average tackle play. League average tackle play is going to make some mistakes, but I did the math on this. I think that the two of them combined to give up a little under 3 quarterback pressures per game last year, which is roughly what you'd expect from offensive tackles in a league where edge rushers are so good and so dominant. I'm not saying that Moore and Latham are a strength of this team, but I feel a little bit more confident more that I look around the league to say that offensive tackle is not a weakness. Now, if you go to the interior, if you go to that center spot and that right guard spot, a lot of questions. The good news, if there is any good news, you asked for me to provide some optimism, is that historically speaking, those are some of the easiest positions to find great talent on free agency and in the later rounds of the draft. That's primarily because teams don't actually use a lot of very high picks on those positions, so you kind of have to find it that way. But teams have found a lot of good players through lower leverage draft slots and lower leverage contracts. Does that mean I think these guys are that? I really don't know yet. I want to see the pads on. I want to see how Jackson Slater can take a step forward in year 2. I want to see if Cordell Volson seems improved. I want to see who Schlottman is. The 2 rookies, I'm still hesitant to say will factor into the rotation at all in camp before I see them wear pads. They do have to earn that to a certain extent. But yeah, I'm not going to sit here and tell you I am overly bullish on this being a great offensive line. But I will continue to say what I've said in the past, which is when you have gathered the receiving core that they've gathered, and when you've invested in the number 1 quarterback, and when you've invested in a really high quality play caller with a track record that Brian Daboll has, you put all that together with an average offensive line, you should be able to be a pretty productive offense. Are you going to be elite or are you going to be great? You don't want to be average anywhere if you want to be elite, but at the very least, at the very minimum, can this team be average up front? I don't see why not.
So I'm glad you brought up the center and right guard spot. I've been on record of saying that I think eventually, I don't think it'll be this way at the start, but eventually I believe Pat Coogan will end up being this team's starting center, whether it's towards the end of this regular season or maybe to start next year. But as for right now, Austin Schlottman is slated to be the starter. He wasn't the starter in New York last year. Maybe Brian Daboll sees something that we don't. Do you think that Andre James, who they've also brought in, could compete for that starting center spot to begin week 1 against the New York Jets?
I'm not going to rule anything out. It's entirely possible. I do think there's value in continuity, and obviously there's no such thing as continuity when you've got a completely new coaching staff, but bringing people who know the scheme over to kind of ease the burden of some of the new guys around them is helpful, and I think that's a benefit for Schlottmann. But yeah, you don't sign a guy if you don't think he's going to help your team in some capacity. Does that mean Andre James is a guarantee to make the roster even? I don't know. You got a lot of offensive linemen, and if we just want to play the roster calculus game, let's say the average team carries 10 linemen on their active roster. You got your 5 across the front that we expect to be the starter based off of what we saw in camp, that being, or in mini camp, those being Dan Moore, Peter Skoronsky, Austin Schlottmann, Cordell Volson, and J.C. Latham. So that's 5 spots right there. You got 3 young players who you expect to make the team just by virtue of their youth and their draft plot. So that's Jackson Slater, Fernando Carmona, and Pat Coogan. You're up to 8, and you don't have any depth pieces at tackle right now because all 3 of your young players are interior. So you're going to have to keep probably 1, maybe 2 swing tackles. So that's where you got somebody like Ryan Hayes, you got somebody like Austin Deculus, and you got somebody like Brandon Crenshaw Dixon. Let's say you keep 2 of those guys, so you're not just rolling 1 deep at tackle. There's your 10. If you keep 2 of those guys, you're at 10. Are you going to keep an 11th offensive lineman when you've already got 3 backup interior linemen, and 1 of them, or 2 of them rather, can play center in Slater and Coogan? It's going to be really, really hard to justify. I can't think of a single team in the NFL that would keep 4 backup interior offensive linemen, with how common cross training is. So unless it comes to a point where Coogan, Slater, or Carmona is going to struggle to make the team, or unless it comes to a point where one of them starts cross training at tackle, it's going to be very difficult to envision one of those guys being on the 53 come August 25th or whatever that date is. Now, if one of them sticks it on the practice squad and you use game day elevations and you can kind of game the math the way they did with Corey Levin last year, that's possible. But it seems, just if we're playing roster math, it seems more difficult than one might think.
We're talking with Nick Suss from the Tennessee. And Nick, before we let you go, I saw your story yesterday and the excerpt that you put out on X about Jeffrey Simmons and how the lowered usage from Robert Saleh might actually lead to more production. I thought that was fascinating, that getting less snaps might actually lead to Jeffrey Simmons being put in more advantageous positions to go make plays.
Yeah, it's kind of what Saleh's been saying, and I know that we are naturally skeptical of new things, and I'm including myself in this, which is why I kind of went out of my way to look into this research. And if you trust the data that's scraped from Sumer, and if you kind of look at all this stuff about the NFL, it does. So logically, we all know that if you're on the field on 3rd down, you're more likely to be defensively facing a pass play than on 1st down. Teams pass the ball more on 3rd down, especially 3rd and longer situations. So that means you're going to get more opportunities. And if you look at it, I can't remember the numbers directly off the top of my head, but Jeffrey Simmons last year, I believe, was on the field for mid-80s, 84%, somewhere around there, of the Titans' defensive pass snaps on 3rd down. You look at what Saleh had Quinnen Williams do with the Jets a couple of years back. I believe it was 95% of defensive 3rd down pass snaps Quinnen Williams was on the field for in his last full season under Saleh. Then you look at it, Jeffrey Simmons averaged pressure on 1 out of every 5 defensive 3rd down pass snaps he was on the field for last year. So if you're upping it from 84% to 95%, I know I'm throwing a lot of numbers at you guys right now, but that's roughly 40 more snaps per season on 3rd down. If that's when the pressures are coming, if he's getting 1 out of every 5 3rd downs he's on the field for, he's bringing in a quarterback pressure. That's 8 extra quarterback pressures per season that you create from Simmons on 3rd downs. Now you got to take him away from somewhere else if he's not getting the 1st down pressures, if he's not playing the same way. But when you get a pressure on 3rd down, you got a really high likelihood of turning what could be a scoring drive into a punt or what could be a touchdown drive into a field goal. And if 8 times over the course of a season, one player is stalling an offensive drive. That's a win or two right there. That is truly, tangibly what you can look at and say a way to increase the likelihood of winning is to get off the field on third down more often, end drives more often, give yourself the chance to flip the field more often. And so will this work exactly mathematically like I'm describing right now? Who the heck knows? I'm not going to pretend any of us know any of this stuff, but there does seem at the very least to be a logic to Salah's perspective on maximizing usage potential for Simmons rather than just putting him out there as much as you can.
Nick, thanks so much for coming on with us this morning. We will let you get back to your Netflix watching of quarterback, and we hope to talk to you again soon.
Yeah, appreciate it, y'all. This is fun.
Nick Suss from the Tennessean, our guest. We'll react to what Nick had to say coming up next. Lots of great insights there into Cam Ward, as well as Jeffrey Simmons. I thought that stat he has in his piece was fascinating. We'll get into all of it coming up next. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelley, next man up, 102.5 The Game. Next man up, 1025 The Game, Jake Lyman, Parker Kelley. All of our football offseason coverage on 1025 The Game is presented by Tennessee Brewworks, finely tuned craft beer for finely tuned fans, and Parman Tractor and Equipment, providing totally outrageous customer service. Visit parmantractor.com. Big thanks to Nick Suss from the Tennessean for joining us in the last segment. Lots of really good thoughts about the Titans. We can start with his last comment there about Jeffrey Simmons. I thought it was crazy reading through his article at the Tennessean that Jeffrey Simmons was only on the field for a little over 80% of the Titans' third down pass defense snaps last year, 80.7%. And Nick Suss compares that to Quinnen Williams, who Saleh had in 2023 with the Jets, who was on the field for 94.4% of the Jets' third down pass defense snaps. So despite playing less snaps overall, he was deploying Quinnen Williams in a way that allowed him to play to his strengths and impact the game in the highest way. And so you may look at Robert Saleh saying Jeffrey Simmons is going to play 10 to 15% less snaps this year than he did last year, but he's going to be playing in more of those high leverage situations where he can go and attack the pass rush. And instead of being out there for snaps where maybe he turns a 4-yard gain into a 2-yard gain, kind of a marginal difference on that play on first or second down, he can go get a sack or a quarterback pressure that ends up helping the defense get off the field.
With so much newness, whether it's the coaching staff or the new stadium or new uniforms or new players, there's so much new going around. And as Nick said, when there's so much newness, usually there's a lot of not criticism, but there's a lot of question marks. There's a lot of concern entering into a new season, a new regime. But with Robert Saleh's scheme, and we were talking about this in between the break, it's not like this is some foreign concept, right? Saleh got this from other coaches that he's worked with early during his NFL career, and he's used this with the Jets. He's used this in both of his stints as the defensive coordinator with the 49ers, and it's proven to work. So that's something that you can have confidence in. And also that number blew me away as well, that Jeffrey Simmons last year was on the field for about 80% of the time on third downs, because you would think that he'd be out there every third down.
Right.
If Big Jeff is going to be used between 60 and 65% of the game, but he's out there for more third downs, traditionally, unless it's 3rd and 3 or less, the opposing team is going to be passing the football, which will open up opportunities for Big Jeff to get to the quarterback more, which actually might lead to more sacks.
Right. And you may say, well, Jeffrey Simmons is really good in the run game too, which is true. I want to say he led interior defensive linemen in tackles for loss last year. So yeah, you wish you could have him out there for every snap, right? Like you want Jeffrey Simmons out there as much as you can have him, but you do have Solomon Thomas and Jordan Elliott, who are proven run defenders. They may not be as good as Jeffrey Simmons. You've got John Franklin Myers, who's good against the run, and Keldrick Falk is good against the run on the edge. So you have good run defenders. I would much rather save Jeffrey Simmons and have him fresher for where he can make the largest impact on the game. That's why you build such a deep defensive line like they have this offseason, to give you the opportunity to take Jeffrey Simmons off the field and not feel like you're putting a massive gaping hole on the interior of your defensive line.
And that's why they addressed the defensive line so much during free agency, guys that he's worked with, guys that are familiar with this scheme. And it's why it helps having a guy next to Big Jeff and John Franklin Myers, where if you have two guys that play at such a high caliber level on both in the defensive line at the same time, I mean, you're not going to double team both of them because that'll allow a free edge rusher. Yeah. So one of them, whether it's John Franklin Myers or Big Jeff, is going to have to be one-on-one, and you have confidence that they can beat almost any lineman in the NFL one-on-one.
Right. Yeah, and that's what makes things difficult for these opposing offensive lines, and that's why we think that this defensive line is going to be good. You're forcing these offenses to either free up Jeffrey Simmons one-on-one, free up John Franklin Myers one-on-one, leave your tackles on an island with, again, not elite pass rushers, but better pass rushers than what you had on the edge last year. Or they've got to keep more guys in protection. You've got to keep the running back in. You've got to keep a tight end in. It puts more pressure on the offense, and That is the best thing the Titans did this offseason, was just loading up the defensive line with guys that Robert Saleh can rotate in and out as he sees fit. Nick also had a good point on Cam Ward, and I thought he framed it in a way I hadn't really thought about it before with Cam Ward's progress last year is, yes, Cam Ward needs to grow as just a game manager type player, right? That's the word has a bad connotation, but Cam Ward needs to be better as a game manager. And I think we saw him growing in that way down the stretch of last season. He was turning the ball over less. He was moving the football. They were getting into the end zone a little bit more consistently, which is hugely important for his development, is just being better at the small things. And we've talked about that a lot. But Nick also did make a good point of you drafted him first overall because you think he can be the straw that stirs the drink, a guy who can elevate his teammates. You'd like to see more of that as well, where he's making big time throws. And that doesn't mean the throw across your body stuff that we did see last year, right? The Alec Iamaner touchdown, the play to Restrepo against the Seahawks, that stuff's fine. You do need to see him being more of a game manager, taking his checkdowns, moving the football, but you'd also like to see him being able to push the ball down the field more consistently. And I thought Nick made a good point about that. That's why you drafted him, because he showed at Miami he can make some of those big time throws. You'd like to see more of that and more accuracy on the deep ball than we saw from last year, because that was a problem at times during his rookie season.
Yeah, because this offense that Brian Daboll runs is very conducive to getting the ball out of your hands. There are so many option routes in this scheme, and a lot of them are within 5 to 10 yards. So that'll force Cam Ward to get the ball out of his hands. But that's not the only thing you do on offense, right? Brian Daboll is going to run a fair amount of play action too. So he's got to be able to connect when his guys get open down the field. And he didn't do that in OTAs and minicamp. At least he didn't often. But at the same time, he was nursing a shoulder injury. He's coming back from that. It's June, right? So
it's July now.
July now. It was June when this stuff happened, but he's got to get acclimated to speed. He's having to learn a new playbook entirely too. I mean, it's so easy to play armchair quarterback and not think about all these things.
Yes, 100%. And that's, we're counting down the days to training camp. We're about 2 weeks away from having the first full practice. And so we're excited. And Cam Ward right now throwing down with his wide receivers in Miami. I want to say I saw a couple of the clips. I at least saw Carnell Tate was there. I saw Xavier Restrepo. I want to say Gunnar Helm was in one of these videos.
I believe he was
too.
there.
So at least have a decent amount of his wide receivers down in Miami throwing with him. I didn't specifically see Wan'Dale Robinson, but that doesn't mean that he wasn't there. So good to see Cam Ward gearing up for the new season. We will see how it looks when training camp begins later this month. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. We'd love to hear from you. Our phone line's driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. We'll keep talking Titans on the other side. Does Cedric Gray slot in among the top 10 off-ball linebackers in the league? We'll let you know coming up next. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelley, next man up, 1-2-5 the game. Next man up, 1025 The Game. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelley with you on your Tuesday. This is good. This is one of those I didn't know it was Ella, but I've heard this song before.
No, it's good. I told you it sounds like a punk rock song.
Yeah, it does. It's a very different vibe from her latest stuff.
So this music video is actually her in the boxing ring.
Really?
Uh-huh. And she's like, doing jump rope, looks like a scene out of Rocky Balboa.
We're talking Titans here, but quickly before we get back into that, I did want to mention the attendees for SEC Media Days have been announced. So we know who's going for Tennessee and Vanderbilt. Have you seen this yet, Parker?
I saw the ones for Tennessee.
Okay.
Arion Carter, Jeremiah T-Lander, and Deshaun Bishop.
Yes, those are the three. And then Vanderbilt sending Cedric Alexander, Issa Wataha, and Junior Sherrill.
Kind of surprised Martell Height's not in there.
Yeah, he went last year.
Yeah.
He went last year. It was Pavia, Randon Fontenette, and Martell Height. It was cool. We got to see them playing some college football 26 back then against each other. And Martell got picked off by himself playing against Randon Fontenette. He threw a pick.
Let me guess, Diego Pavia wasn't competitive.
No, Diego jumped. Oh, you were being sarcastic. Yeah, Diego sarcastic. Jumped in and was ready to roll.
Bet Diego Pavia was the most competitive person there.
Yes, he was. It was fun to watch. So those are the attendees for both Tennessee and Vanderbilt down in Tampa next week, along with both head coaches, of course. Cedric Alexander, Issa Wataha, Junior Sherrill for Vanderbilt, Deshaun Bishop, Arion Carter, and Jeremiah T-Lander for Tennessee. Talking Titans here. It's still coming out one day at a time. These top 10 lists from Jeremy Fowler at ESPN, polling the execs, coaches, and scouts. I thought there was a chance that Cedric Gray would have his name somewhere in this article. I didn't think he was top 10. I thought he was going to get some votes. He did not. No votes for Cedric Gray, despite all the tackles he had last year. I do think that a lot of it comes down to you've got to impact the game in other ways. And I want to say Cedric Gray only forced one turnover last year. So that's a big part of it. Number one, Fred Warner. Not a huge surprise there, although he was injured most of last season. He earned around 70% of the first place votes. Did you know Fred Warner is still only 29 years old?
I did realize he was not super young, but he was also not old.
See, I thought he was up into his early 30s. I would have guessed 31, 32.
Yeah.
Fred Warner
hasn't even turned 30 yet.
He's elite. And that's why we've talked about with Robert Saleh coming over here is trying to find his Fred Warner. Now, that doesn't mean finding the best linebacker in the league for basically the last 3 or 4 years. But a guy who can play that prototypical spot and hopefully be pretty good. I think that's what Anthony Hill was drafted to become. High bar, doubt he becomes Fred Warner, but that's the role that he is eventually going to be asked to play for the Titans in this Robert Saleh defense.
No, 100%. I am interested to see how they utilize the linebackers as well, because at least for right now, Anthony Hill Jr. was running with the second team, and it was Cody Barton out there with the first team alongside Cedric Gray, but also James Williams is in there. And James Williams is a converted safety, played safety at Miami. Too slow to be a safety in the NFL, but at least for the most part, a relatively quick linebacker. And that's what, fast and violent, right? That's what Saleh's been preaching. James Williams does fit that category. So I'm interested to see kind of that inside backer rotation as well.
Yeah, we don't talk about the inside line. Great last year. He had his moments. I don't think he was bad, and I'm glad that he's around for another season. And Cedric Gray, he was tackling everything that came near him, and you're excited to see if he can take another step coming up in, I guess it's year 4 in the league, but it's year 3.
Yeah, because he missed his rookie year.
Right. So was last year his first full year?
Yeah.
Man.
It was.
Yeah. So
what a first year.
You're right. Yeah.
What a first
year.
So
he played 7 games in 2024. Last year he played 16 and had 164 tackles. So Cedric Gray, you excited to see what he's going to be able to do. And I'm excited to see what Anthony Hill can do in year 1. I agree with what you said. And I think TD made a similar point that he may not start as the green dot guy off the rip week 1 against the Jets. But I think by the end of the year, you're going to see him get that snap count continuing to grow, and I think he's going to continue to make plays. So the off-ball linebacker group, again, I don't think it's like an elite group, but I think it's one of the position groups that I look at on this Titans team, and I don't have significant worries about heading into 2026.
Because Cody Barton is serviceable. It just feels like it's only a matter of time before Anthony Hill replaces him. And I can understand, him not getting first team reps right away. He's got to earn it. He's got to work up to that level. But you look at Cody Barton, and he's not, he's a very, very intelligent player, but he's not quick. He's not, super strong, right? He's serviceable.
Right.
I think that's the right word. So it seems like almost a bridge until Anthony Hill Jr. is ready to be this guy, because the Titans traded up to get him, and Borgonzi and Saleh did not sit on their hands when there was a guy on the board that they wanted. And Anthony Hill was clearly a guy that they wanted. And Saleh, it just seems like this is the type of inside linebacker that Saleh would want.
Yeah, the Titans draft was all about quality over quantity. They saw guys that they valued, and they went and got them. Obviously, you didn't have to trade up to get Carnell Tate, but that was a guy that they clearly valued at number 4, and they took him. They trade up back into the first round to get Keldrick Falk. They trade up into the second round to get Anthony Hill. They clearly valued these guys and viewed them as fits in this Robert Saleh defense. So Anthony Hill, maybe not going to be on the field for 80% of the snaps right off the rip to start the season, but I do think he's going to be an impact player for this team sooner rather than later. 3337 asks, is there a top 10 for special teams? Surely Chimdike would be on it, right? There's not one for returners.
I don't think they do that.
But if they did, I would guess Chimdike would be pretty high up there, right?
1 or 2.
Yeah, like he'd be towards the top. But yeah, we've got 2 more left. Off-ball linebackers today. It's wide receivers tomorrow, safeties on Thursday to end the mecca of list season.
Do you think there's not going to be any Titans on the receiver list? Do you think that Amani Hooker would be honorable mention for safeties?
Let's see. Was he on there last year? Because if he wasn't on there last year, then I'm going to say absolutely not, because he had a bad year last. Bad might not be the right word. He had a lackluster season last year. The way I always describe it is he was a step late on almost everything. Let's see. Last year, was he honorable mention? No, he did not even get votes last year. So no Amani Hooker on that list coming up. But those are the last 2, wide receivers tomorrow and safeties. The Titans will not be represented even in receiving votes, I don't think, the rest of the way. Like Wan'Dale Robinson's a good receiver, but he's not a top 20 receiver or ever.
Definitely not.
Whatever's going to be listed.
So Big Jeff and Peter Skoronski.
Yep. And Alante Taylor got votes. I think that's it.
A lot of former Titans on this
there
off-ball
are.
linebacker
Yeah,
list.
Azeez Al-Shire is on there. It's
Ernest
6.
Jones.
Ernest Jones got some votes.
Yeah.
Was there another one in there? No, I think that's it. Well, there was the guy that everybody wanted the Titans to go get this offseason, Tremaine Edmonds. And he was, where did he end up? He left Chicago. Is he on the Ravens now? Or no, the Giants. He's on the Giants. Yes, that's right. He went to play for John Harbaugh.
Yep.
Yeah. And well, we can get to this coming up next. Bobby Wagner's receiving votes. And so like Bobby Wagner, very good player. And actually looking back at his season last year, he played pretty well. He's 36 years old. He's on the NFL top 100 list. He's getting votes for one of the best off-ball linebackers in the league. Why has nobody signed this guy yet? We can talk about that and get to some of your reaction as well. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. We'll wrap up hour number 2 after this. Don't forget, coming up in the 11 a.m. hour, Jake Crain from On 3 going to join us to talk some college football at 11:15. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelley, next man up, 102.5 The Game. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelley, finishing up the second hour on your Tuesday. Coming up at 11:15, Jake Crain from On3 will join us to talk some college football. But we were going through the off-ball linebackers top 10 that ESPN put out this morning. Bobby Wagner listed as the 17th best inside linebacker in the league. And I looked at his stats. He played really well last year, actually. Started all 17 games for Washington, had 162 tackles. He had 4.5 sacks. He had 2 interceptions. So still a high-level player at 35 years old. I just wonder, is he going to keep playing? Like, he was listed on the NFL Top 100 ahead of Jeffrey Simmons, which is just insane. And again, we don't recognize that list. And now he's on this list. I saw he was being put somewhere else. I just wonder, is he going to play again? Maybe he's just holding out to sign with the team until late in training camp so he doesn't have to go through it at 36 years old. But it is funny to see him still getting all these accolades despite being in what would be his 15th season in the NFL.
162 tackles at 36 years old is fantastic. So
Yeah.
Also had 4.5 sacks. Yeah, played every game. I'm sure a team is going to pick him up. It might be one of those deals where he is waiting until, training camp at least, or maybe until a little towards the end of training camp. Didn't Quandre Diggs do that with the Titans just because of his age?
Yeah, I think that sounds
so
right.
that wouldn't surprise me, but surely someone's going to pick him up. Von Miller is still a free agent, and he's 37 years old and had 9.5 sacks for Washington in 2025. So these inside linebackers can play until they get pretty old.
That is true. I mean, we do see some retire early. Kuechly and Patrick Willis. Wish we could have seen more of those guys.
I wish we could have seen more Luke Kuechly.
So much fun to watch. But man, Bobby Wagner was at least a second-team All-Pro in 11 straight seasons. Like, that is insane. 11 straight seasons from 2014 to 2024. He was an All-Pro player.
Someone's going to pick him up. Someone has to pick him up.
He got MVP votes in 2014 at inside linebacker.
His Seattle days, that does not surprise me.
Yeah, that was prime Legion of Boom with Cam and Earl Thomas and Richard Sherman and was it Brandon Maxwell who was on the other side from Sherman?
Yeah,
that was such a fun.
That was
defense
to watch. Fun defense. To
watch. Michael Bennett was off the edge on those teams. They had Michael Irvin, not Michael Irvin, Bruce Irvin at linebacker. Those were really fun Seahawks teams that I guess 2014, that was the year they lost the Super Bowl to the Patriots, right?
No, it was a little later than that.
Was it? Maybe it was 2015.
Because they won the Super Bowl in 13 against the Denver Broncos. Because that was Peyton Manning's first year in Denver.
And then the next year they lost to the Patriots.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So, that 2014 team was really, really good. So we'll see where Bobby Wagner ends up. But we are getting to the end of the top 10 position rankings list, which has been good content for us over the last week and a half or so here. Wide receiver, who do you think is going to be number one tomorrow?
I'd say there's a case to be made for JSN. I wouldn't be surprised if he is number one, just given the year that he had last year.
Right.
Puka is going to be in there. Jamar and Justin Jefferson are the two best in my opinion.
CeeDee Lamb will be in there.
I think so. I was actually thinking about this. Is George Pickens going to be higher than CeeDee Lamb?
Ooh, that's a good question. I mean, if you're going based off stats from last year, Pickens did have a huge season.
And I may be the only one that thinks this. And let me know in the text line what you think. But if they're both playing at their best and they're both healthy, I think George Pickens is more talented than CeeDee. Not by a lot.
Yeah, I mean, last year,
it's close.
Pickens did play 3 more games, but he had 1,400 yards to CeeDee's 1,100, right around, and 9 touchdowns to CeeDee's 3. Like, if you're going off of last year, Pickens was the more productive player.
I think it's like a 1A, 1B type thing.
Man, that's tough. And that is true. CeeDee had some rough moments last year. He had a big drop that cost him a game.
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
He had a couple of them, in big moments.
That, it sounds like a really hot take when you say it. And I do think that CD might still be ranked ahead of Pickens tomorrow, because I think at their peaks, I probably would take CD over Pickens, but it's less of a hot take when you dive into the numbers.
I'm just saying, when George Pickens, like last year, he was out to prove something.
Yeah.
And this year, he's also out to prove something because he wanted the contract extension. He wants to be in Dallas, I believe.
Right. Yeah, he still
But
doesn't have a long-term deal.
He signed the franchise tag.
Right.
So he's got to prove it another year. So I think he's out to prove something.
Yeah, I mean, kind of a ridiculous year for George Pickens. 93 catches, 1,400 yards, 15 yards per catch, 9 touchdowns. Crazy.
Dude's a beast. When he's got his head on right, he's a beast.
Yeah, I think that's probably the group towards the top. We're probably missing somebody.
I'd say it's between Dallas, Cincy. I don't know if you can
the
put
Rams with Puka and Devontae Adams. Like, I would put them in a tier below those two, because
the Bucs used to be in there, but now with like Mike Evans gone in San Francisco, I don't know if you could say that anymore.
Yeah. Trying to think of other teams with great. Now, like the Saints have some potential, but you don't know what Tyson's going to be yet with Olave. And Olave did take a step back.
I think it's an underrated pairing, but I do like Drake London and Kyle Pitts, at least from last year.
Yeah. Yeah.
But Kyle Pitts has got to do it again.
You've got Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison in Minnesota.
Yep.
When Addison is on the field, he's proven to be very good. Yeah, there's a lot of good wide receiver tandems across the league. Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jameson Williams.
Yes,
that's a good one.
Absolutely. The Packers has always been receiver by committee.
Yeah.
But that's a fun core to watch.
I think you can project the Bears could be really good this year with Odunze and Luther Burden stepping into bigger roles.
Luther Burden is
getting
a lot of hype from Ben Johnson right now.
Yeah, so Luther Burden is one of those players who is getting so much hype heading into this year. Amon-Ra definitely going to be in the top 10. I think we've gone through close to 10 there. I hope we're not completely missing somebody. Like maybe Nico Collins is borderline top 10 for the Texans. I'm sure he's listed in the article, but probably outside of the top 10.
They had a really good receiving core CJ Stroud's rookie year when Tank Dell was coming on. And then unfortunately he got hurt.
Yeah. That'll be an interesting list tomorrow. We'll dive into that with Corey Curtis tomorrow when he's in with us. 615-737-1025. Getting to some of your reaction. Chad corrected me. It was Brandon Browner for the Legion of Boom, not Brandon Maxwell. Appreciate that. I mixed up my cornerback's name, Brandon. Benjamin says Amon-Ra St. Brown is very underrated nationally. I agree with that. Like, you look at Amon-Ra St. Brown's numbers, and he is an elite wide receiver for that Lions team. He has had some ridiculous years since coming into the league, which I know Titans fans always get upset about because should have taken him over Des Fitzpatrick. But he has had
pick
over the
top
last
5 in the league in receiving yards last year.
Ridiculous. I mean, and same thing as what we talked about yesterday with Peter Skoronski. I am not second guessing here. And this isn't a novel idea. I think there were so many people following the Titans fans who saw the Titans trade up towards the top of the 4th round, needing a wide receiver, and thought, oh my God, they're doing it for Amon-Ra St. Brown, and would have been thrilled with that pick. And they took Des Fitzpatrick, who was expected to be a 7th round pick that year. Amon-Ra has at least 115 catches in the last 3 years, and he's averaging right around 1,400 yards a season and 11 touchdowns over the last 3 seasons. Ridiculous.
Oh, I know it's so easy to go back and say that they should, but in the moment, I was one of those guys like, I wanted Amon-Ra.
Yeah, right. It's like everybody can second guess, and it's like, oh, everybody should have taken Tom Brady in 99 and he fell to the 6th round. You can't do that. Same thing with like Antonio Brown or all these other guys who slid. But I was sitting there on the couch when I saw the Titans logo pop up and they traded up early in the 4th round. And I was like, oh, it's got to be for Amon-Ra. He slipped through the day 2. They saw their guy. So it's not second guessing. We're first guessing here that the Titans should have taken Amon-Ra St. Brown back in 2021. Was that 21? Yeah, 21.
It's 21.
2021. 615-737-1025. 4312 says, over-under, Pickens has a meltdown midseason over the contract stuff. Yeah, that's the issue with George Pickens. And I think that's the one thing, if there wasn't I don't want to say character concerns, but just like the prima donna
Right.
part of this. Like,
that was certainly a problem in Pittsburgh.
I don't think Pittsburgh would have traded him. I don't think there would be any issue with the Cowboys signing him, but because he's just so quick to fly off the handle and like you just have no idea, he's so enigmatic is not the right word. I'm trying to feel like he's all over the place. Like you don't want to commit long term until he can prove it again this year. 615-737-1025. We got one more hour with you on this Tuesday. We'll talk some World Cup coming up in the next hour as the semifinals get underway this afternoon. France and Spain down in Dallas at Jerry World, in fact, over there in Arlington, I should say. Then Jake Crain from On3 going to join us at 11:15 to talk all things college football. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelley, next man up here on 102.5 The Game. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman and Parker Kelley alongside you, broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Final hour on this Tuesday. We'll be joined in about 15 minutes by Jake Crain from On3, host of Crain and Cone. We'll get his thoughts on both the local college football teams, Vanderbilt, Tennessee, other storylines around the college football world. So excited to talk to Jake. But let's get into the World Cup here, Parker. Semifinals start today, France and Spain. And this is a big one for you and me. We have gotten to the very end of our pick'em with Connor. We each picked 3 teams at the beginning of the World Cup to see who could win. Each of us has 1 team left heading into the semifinals. And if you remember back, we refused to pick England. So this is kind of perfect. We picked all 3 semifinalists that we were willing to take. You have France, I have Spain. Winner moves on to the championship.
It's going to be a heated rivalry today. New rivalry. I don't think Spain and France are rivals, but I've actually been doing a little bit of research on this World Cup, and I was surprised to know that there are only 8 countries ever to have won a World Cup. 5 of them are in Europe, and France and Spain are they've both won. I think a couple each. England has won 3.
No, they've won 1.
Oh, they've won 1. Yep. Okay. And Argentina's one. Argentina's the one that has won 3.
Yes. So all 4 teams left have at least won 1 World Cup.
Yeah. So I truly believe that we do have the 4 best teams. No Cinderellas in the semifinals.
Yeah.
But it is going to make for some exciting soccer.
Yeah, and I think we talk about Cinderellas with college basketball every year, and Cinderellas are fun. And I think we did have some teams throughout the tournament making runs. I mean, like Cape Verde, that's your 16 seed that was able to win their first round matchup and then took another team all the way to the brink. That was fun. Switzerland, even taking Argentina to, and it's funny, all of the Cinderellas played Argentina, taking them to extra time, and then Argentina scored the 2 goals late to win. But you're right. We got the best teams here, and we got superstars up and down these teams with Kylian Mbappe today and Ousmane Dembele. You've got Lamine Yamal on the other side for Spain. So, and then of course the game tomorrow, Lionel Messi, Harry Kane, Jude Bellingham. Like it's going to be really fun semifinals. And then we set up for this weekend, 3rd place game in Miami on Saturday, and then the World Cup final on Sunday in New York.
It is going to be awesome. It's a star-driven sport. I've really enjoyed watching Jude Bellingham because at 23 years old, what he's been able to do in the World Cup so far, scoring 2 goals in Mexico City versus Mexico, scoring 2 goals versus Norway, it's been phenomenal to watch. Do not like England. I don't like anything about them, but I like Jude Bellingham. And I think it'll be fun to see Harry Kane, Jude Bellingham go up against Messi in Argentina, and then today with Mbappe and Spain's, I don't know how to say his name.
Lamine Yamal.
Yeah.
I agree with you. I'm rooting against England, but England has endeared itself to me a little bit throughout this World Cup. Again, I don't like rooting for England, but after the Mexico game, defeating Azteca, which is just a place that teams have gone to die over the past few decades against Mexico. Just no one wins in there when they play the Mexican national team, and they did it. And then the way they played against Norway, able to shut down Holland. And you're right, Jude Bellingham has been fun to watch, and seeing them sing Wonderwall and Hey Jude after the games, like it's been fun. It's been fun to watch England play. So I'm still rooting for Argentina, but I don't hate that England has made it this far.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm torn. I really wish both teams could lose because I officially did commit to the Ronaldo side of the Messi-Ronaldo debate. So I feel like I have to root against Messi, but I'm also not rooting for England. And I did pick France, so I guess I'm going France all the way out.
Yeah, I'm going with Spain. I think Spain has flown under the radar a little bit since that 0-0 draw to Cape Verde, and everybody's like, oh, wow, they were the favorites coming in, but obviously haven't been up to snuff early on. They've been good since the group stage. I think they win today against France. Do you know who's favored?
I believe it's France who's favored against Spain, and I believe England is actually favored versus Argentina.
Yeah, France.
But I think it's going to be a rematch of 22.
France slight favorites today against Spain, and England slight favorites against Argentina. So, yeah, you're right. We could get a rematch, France and Argentina, from the last World Cup final. 3569 makes a very good point. When we were talking about Cinderellas, we didn't mention Norway. They were 31st in the world. I guess having a guy like Erling Haaland just makes us kind of feel like they're not underdogs, but you're right. In terms of on the international stage, how they stack up against the other teams that made it to the quarterfinals, they were an underdog in that sense.
And so was Switzerland. And Switzerland actually took it to extra time, but Argentina scored 2 goals in extra time.
Yeah.
So
they beat Colombia too. Like Switzerland was our true Cinderella, making it all the way to the quarterfinals.
They were.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Spain today. And maybe that's wishful thinking because I just want to win our, again, with absolutely nothing on the line except for bragging rights. I want to win that. And Connor has Argentina up against England today to see if he can stay, or tomorrow to see if he can stay alive. I do think that soccer is in a better place in America than it was a little over a month ago when the World Cup started. I think that the national attention has shifted and that we've all enjoyed watching soccer. Now, obviously there are games when it ends 0-0 and there's not a whole lot of intrigue. And it's like, man, this is why we don't care about it as much over here. But there have also been some really, really entertaining games throughout this tournament that have been awesome. So I'm excited. The Nashville SC gets back in action on Friday against Atlanta here at Geodis Park. I am going to make it a priority. I don't know if I can go on Friday, but I'm making it a priority to get out to a game at Geodis Park. I've been here for almost 4 years now and still have not been to a Nashville SC game. And that's 100% on me. I need to go out there because I've heard they're so much fun. I haven't made it a priority. I'm doing it now because I've enjoyed watching this World Cup and I want to support a team that is the best in the MLS at this point.
Great food too at Geodis.
I've heard that.
And that little section of fans that stand up the whole game and they chant and they shout. It is a great atmosphere.
No, that's what I've heard.
A great
I've
atmosphere.
heard that the fans are awesome. The food is good. The stadium in general is great. And now they've got a great team. That last year, obviously, they were very good, falling to Miami in the playoffs, who ended up winning the MLS Cup. And this year, you're the best team in the MLS at the midway point of the season. They deserve support. They deserve the casual fans like me to go out and support them. So I'm making it a priority. Maybe next week, actually. Because they play another home game, I want to say, coming up next week, maybe against Montreal. Yeah, next Wednesday against Montreal. I might have to get out there for a game because I am excited to cheer on this team, the best in the MLS, heading into the final couple months of the season.
It's going to be really, really fun because this team is supposedly one of the better teams in the MLS, might be the best team. Might be the best team in Nashville right now.
Yeah. I mean, I think pro sports wise, 100% they're the best team in Nashville. You couldn't argue that against. And we're gonna get text saying they play in a minor league. I get it, but pound for pound in the division that they're playing in, Nashville SC is the most successful team among the pro teams in Nashville right now. Although the Nashville Sounds have played well too. If we're counting,
and the Nashville Sounds have the best farm organization.
Technically they play in Clarksville, but you know who the most successful pro team in Middle Tennessee is? It's the Nashville Cats.
Nashville Cats.
The Nashville
As Big
Cats.
Joe would say, best ticket in town.
Yeah, I'm telling you, those games are fun. I was up there a few weeks ago. I think their playoffs start soon, actually.
Yeah, I feel like the championship last year was around this time.
I think the championship is in early August. Let's see. So they played the Firebirds back on Saturday. And I'm trying to find the standings. Let's see. They played the Firebirds and they won 57-54 on Saturday. So Nashville going to be the number 1 seed in the AF1 playoffs. So there you go. That's your most successful team in Middle Tennessee among the pro sports teams, if we're just taking them at their current division. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. Our phone and text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. World Cup coming up 2:00 today. And it is it 2:00 or 3:00?
2 o'clock.
2
Both
o'clock
games are
today.
2 o'clock today. Tomorrow.
France and Spain, spot in the World Cup final is on the line down there at Jerry World in Texas. I'm excited to watch that one. 615-737-1025. Coming up next, we will be joined by Jake Crain from On3. He hosts the Crain and Cone show. We're going to talk all things college football with Jake, including Tennessee and Vanderbilt as they prepare for the 2026 season. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelley, next man up here on 1025, The Game. Next man up, 1025, The Game. Jake Lyman and Parker Kelley with you. Getting ready to talk some college football, and to help us do that, we go to our phone lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. We welcome in Jake Crain, host of Crain and Cone at On3. Jake, thanks for coming on, taking some time with us. How's it going this morning?
Oh, man, of course. Appreciate y'all having me. Going great. Got an 18-month-old wife due with our second August 8th. So, I'm just trying to batten down the hatches until then.
Yeah, congratulations. I'm sure you're going to be busy, especially heading into college football season.
Oh yeah, well, my wife, poor thing. I mean, she's got to play both ways. She's basically the Travis Hunter of wives this season.
I love it. I love it. Well, congratulations. We're glad to have you on the show today. Wanted to start with the local teams here, Jake. Let's start with Vanderbilt, coming off the first 10-win season in program history. What are your expectations for Clark Lee and company as they begin a new era and try and build off the momentum that Diego Pavia left here on West End?
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously the expectations been raised, the standards been raised there. Getting Jared Curtis, and for a lot of people, again, Vandy has become more popular, but I still don't think people really invest in Vandy and dive into what they have. Jared Curtis is the best prospect I think that has ever signed with Vanderbilt, and I'm not even talking about stars or any of that. I think he may be the most ready freshman to play. I think he's more ready than Bryce Underwood. I think he was more ready than Arch Manning coming out of high school. When you look at the physical tools, just his overall natural passing ability. But the question for Vanderbilt to maintain the place that they've gotten to under Clark, it's can you continue to get better at the line of scrimmage and build depth along the line of scrimmage? There's a lot more wide receivers, DBs, running backs running around out there than there are offensive tackles and defensive ends that can play in the SEC. So really where I think Vandy has elevated themselves outside of, Diego Pavia being the witch that he was on the line of scrimmage. They're not having to struggle uphill as much, which means you're not having to get as lucky or catch as many breaks or trying to fool people. And when you look at what Tim Beck does offensively, his ability to manufacture yards, especially in that 1 to 8 yard window, I think is one of the reasons that Vanderbilt has been able to maintain this success. And I think they're only going to get better up front the more success they have, therefore, convincing the people that matter the most to invest in football. So I don't think they're going anywhere. Are they going to win 10 this year? I don't think so, but they are set up for the future to be an absolute problem in this league. And who knows where it could end in the era of NIL. I know there's a lot of rich Vandy grads, and you get them hyped enough about football, they'll throw you some coins.
Yeah, you're probably not wrong there. And you talk about Jared Curtis's readiness, and he hasn't been named the starting quarterback yet, but if he is, we'll
didn't
see.
Go to Vandy to sit the bench for a play. I promise you that. There's some backdoor handshakes that have been done.
It's not going to be Blaise Berlowitz.
Hey, until Clark Lee makes it official, he has not been named the starting quarterback yet. But
here, can I just announce it for Clark on the show? Can I just go ahead and announce it?
Yeah, you're gonna just get it out of the way here. But when it comes to his development, you talk about his readiness. What does the learning curve look like for him as he does get adjusted to playing in the SEC? A couple of tough road games early on against Auburn and Georgia.
Well, the best part is and again, you've got to see the mental play out because that's the biggest question. I mean, being mentally ready in high school is a lot different, even if you're above everybody else mentally, than being able to go through the grind that is a Division I, schedule, especially in the Southeastern Conference. But the great part is the physical part's done. There's not one thing this guy can't do at a high level, even as young as he is. So I would much rather have a guy that has all the physical ability, and he's going to go through some ups and downs, but I think the learning curve for him is going to be quicker because I do trust the mental side of not only what he did in high school, but the way they develop quarterbacks there at Vanderbilt. And that system, I think, is very conducive to young guys because there's a lot of outs. There's a lot of pre-snap stuff that goes on. But look, just like, it's amazing. A lot of people just assume now that freshman quarterbacks are going to come in and ball because it happened a couple times. That's the anomaly. The normal is you're going to have ups and downs. This is you learning. This is you going in the Walmart parking lot at 11 at night and learning how to drive with your dad. That's what this is. But once you learn it, you learn it. And so what I'm interested to see is how he grows throughout the season, because to me, that is going to be the marker for what Vandy can possibly do for the next 2 years.
Jake, we're going to stay in the SEC here because I saw that you guys over there at Crain and Cone ranked your top 5 SEC games, and I thought for sure that LSU and Ole Miss was going to be number 1. It was actually number 2 behind Texas and Texas A&M. So explain your reasoning behind that.
Yeah, and I think, and we said this on the show, we're dropping our Big Ten one today. It seemed like people really enjoyed the SEC one we did yesterday. To me, you can't just go and say, okay, who are the biggest brands and the best teams, and those will be the top 5 games. There's a lot more that goes into that because schedules are different, right? Same thing we just went through with Penn State in the Big Ten. Their schedule's a lot different than what Oregon's going to have to play. So you have to put yourself in a situation where, hey, if we're going to talk about the games that are the most consequential, whether that be for the conference championship, the college football playoff, or the national championship, it's not as linear or as cut and dry. So while LSU and Ole Miss is going to be an incredible game in both situations, championship relevance, and obviously what's gone on with Lane Kiffin there, the hate in that game is going to be at an all-time high. I mean, they're punching each other at baseball games. I can only imagine what's going to happen at the football game. But number 1 for us was Texas and Texas A&M. And if you look back at the past 2 seasons, that game has been incredibly consequential. Texas has won both of them, but one year Texas beats A&M, keeps them out of the SEC title game, keeps them out of the college football playoff. Last year they beat A&M. Texas A&M still makes the college football playoff, and they're both returning a ton. Not only are they returning a ton, but it's the last game of the season, guys. Where it falls on the schedule matters too. So while, for example, LSU and Ole Miss, huge game. I'll give you another one. Georgia and Alabama, huge game, but it's not the last game. So to me, I think we got it about right, about as good as you could get it with the top 5. Because to be honest with you guys, we had 5 other honorable mentions that you could make a case should have been in the top 5, maybe even in the top 3. I can tell you after doing it, the SEC is going to be an absolute traffic jam. I'm talking interstate traffic jam throughout the whole season.
Well, Jake, I ranked my top 10 games of the college football season last week, and it felt impossible because there were so many games that I left off the list that I'm like, there's a case to be made that this is a top 10 game in college football. One of the hardest things that I've ever had to do. I did want to ask, though, what is going to be worse for Lane Kiffin? Going back to Oxford this year or when he returned to Knoxville in 2021?
I've got to think it's going to be going back to Ole Miss because, when he it's one thing to leave the way that Lane left Tennessee, right? And that was to go somewhere else outside of the conference. Now, and now, again, it's still somewhat fresh. I mean, they're throwing mustard bottles and golf balls on the field, but this one is in the conference, and you left this team when they were going to the playoffs. Like, you left to go get another girl the night you were supposed to propose. And you basically told Ole Miss, you're not good enough. And then after this, and it's not like you haven't put more fuel on the fire with what you said about what it's like recruiting in Oxford and this, that, and the other. This is as personal as it gets. It is as personal as it gets. And we know the level of rationale of SEC fans when it's that personal. They may have to call the National Guard in for this one. I mean, we haven't seen Mississippi State and Louisiana, or Mississippi and Louisiana, go through this since the Civil War.
Yeah, that game, no matter what happens on the field, it is going to be must-see TV.
Can you imagine social media if Lane loses?
Oh, my goodness. Yeah.
Banner night. Banner night.
Jake, going to the other side of the state, we talk about Tennessee. This is a team with a lot of talent on it. Is the one big question just can whoever the quarterback is, McIntyre or Brandon, can they make a leap as a freshman and help this team? Because outside of that, this does look like a pretty complete roster that Josh Heupel has built over there in Knoxville.
Yeah, and look, I don't think Tennessee's getting enough credit for what's around the quarterback situation, but again, we all know the importance of that position. The offensive line should be really good, which nothing helps a new quarterback out like a run game. It's the saving grace. It's the red button in the Men in Black car. You bring in Jim Knowles. I will say this. I don't think defensively they're going to be as good as what some people think they are. I think it takes a while for Knowles' system. to work. You know, the Chaz Coleman situation is unfortunate. They do have talent. But I think this Tennessee team, 8-4 seems about right because you're going to get some up and downs. Here's what teams are going to do. All right. And listen, Heupel's offense, the wide choice, it's pretty good at combating this if you become one-dimensional because you're able to supplement the run game with that quick passing game. But teams are going to load the box. That's what they're going to do. And if they can tackle in space on the outside, Tennessee's going to be in trouble. But I do think there is a world in which Tennessee's run game is so good, they're able to lighten that box up, balance that thing out, and the quarterback can become better throughout the season. It's just you mix that with the tough schedule. I'll tell you this, though. I'll tell you this right now. I would rather be in Tennessee's situation from a new quarterback and offensive line than Alabama's situation, which is crazy to say because they got a bunch of talent on the offensive line, but they haven't been able to gel together for about 2 seasons in a row. So it's a very interesting dynamic when you look at it. I'm not as bullish on Tennessee as some, but it's not like they're going to fall off a cliff.
So, Jake, I wanted to save this for the end because you talked about, your wife or you guys are expecting a baby. I'm also aware that there is a fall wedding within the family.
Oh, God.
How exactly are you going to go about handling that?
Yeah. Well, it's my brother who's a co-host on the show, obviously. And you know what? It wouldn't be so bad if he didn't rail against people for fall weddings for 3 years. I mean, this guy just walked across the aisle. I mean, he went from open borders to nobody gets across the border in 30 seconds. I will say this, though. I think we got a good plan because we do instant reactions to games. So the rehearsal dinner, the way it's going to set up the house that we're at is we're going to have all the boys there behind us when we do the instant reaction, which is going to go one of 2 ways. It's either going to be awesome or a complete disaster. But hey, we like living on we're basically a Nicolas Cage movie right now.
That is going to be incredible. I'm going to watch. I'm going to make sure to watch.
Oh, dude, I'm not worried about us. I'm worried about them being.
Yeah, that is a good point there.
Rules like this is get hyped up, this, that, and the other. But we because it's a wild group now. It's a wild group. So
if it goes wrong, just blame Blaine for putting you guys in this situation.
Oh, 100%. He already knows. I mean, we just got back from the bachelor trip, and Operation Survive was a success. So I'm starting to feel better about it.
I love it. I will be locked in for that to see the instant reaction live from the rehearsal dinner. I think that's great. Jake, thanks so much for taking some time with us this morning. We'll have to do it again soon.
Yeah, man. Appreciate y'all having me, and anytime, hit me up.
Jake Crain from On3, host of Crain and Cone. Make sure you check him out at @JakeCrain_ on X. Appreciate him coming on. Some interesting stuff there on Tennessee and Vanderbilt. We'll get into it coming up next. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelley, next man up, 125 The Game. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman and Parker Kelley with you. 30 more minutes left on the show. Big thanks to Jake Crain from On 3 joining us in the last segment. He was fun. I mean, I'm excited for this wedding reaction to all the college football games.
I mean, first of all, we got to call out Blaine for this, because you can't be against fall weddings your whole life and then fall into the trap of having a fall wedding. I mean, there's no way around this. It's very hypocritical.
I will say, I stood firm. My wife did push for a fall wedding at times, but I told her, I said, it's not an issue for me. It's my wedding, so I would be fine missing football that day. And I'm sure this is the same way he feels. But for me, all of my friends and all of my family are diehard college football fans. Like, I'm not going to do that to them and make them choose whether. And again, everybody's like, well, they shouldn't care. It's just football. I would rather people be locked in, enjoying their time, rather than looking down at their phones and checking scores. It's just, I mean,
see, you went about this the right way. One, fall weddings are a sin, but two, you got to think about it. It's one of the most selfish things you can do is if you're planning a fall wedding, because you're not taking into account everybody else that'll be there.
It's not about me, right?
You want the focus on the bride, right?
Right.
The focus is not going to be on the bride when Alabama's playing Tennessee on the third Saturday of October.
Right.
It's just not going to happen.
And I think I had a little bit of an edge because I could say, well, fall is like busy season for me, whether it's freelance broadcast or we're getting towards women's basketball season. I work with Vandy football. So it's like, I used work as the excuse, but I was able to avoid the fall wedding.
I was too. We got married in July, 2 summers ago. That's a great time to do it.
I did tell you I am officiating a wedding in October. So
yeah.
Do I mention that during the wedding? Although they're making us be here on a college football
Saturday, which is crazy. There are 3 times you don't plan a wedding: football season, the Masters, and March Madness. Any other time is free game.
Well, at least it's not November 7th, because that is the day we've established as the best day of college football.
Or October 10th.
Oh, it is October 10th.
Well, no, there are a couple really good weeks, like A+ weekends, and those are 2 of them.
Yeah. Well, I will be Reverend Jacob Lyman one of those days. But I did want to get back to the note from Jake when we asked about Vanderbilt. And he says he thinks Jared Curtis is the most ready freshman quarterback he's seen in a long time. Said more ready than Bryce Underwood, so Bryce Underwood went 9-4 last year, had an up and down season with a Michigan team around him, right? The Michigan infrastructure, the Michigan talent is at a higher level than Vanderbilt's roster right now. But to say that, I think that is a very strong support of Jared Curtis heading into year one, that he is the most physically ready freshman quarterback he's seen in a long time. I think that should make Vandy fans feel pretty good about what this offense could look like with Jared Curtis at the helm.
I am in total agreement with him, and I've seen him up close in high school. Physically, he was doing things at an age that you should not be able to do at 17 years old. So I'm not worried about the physical aspect. I'm not worried about the arm strength, fitting balls into tight windows. I'm not worried about that stuff. But how much of a jump is it mentally for him? I do think he is, I'm not going to say a better situation than Bryce Underwood. I do think he's a little bit more talented than Bryce Underwood. And that's saying something, because Bryce Underwood is very talented.
Yeah. I mean, he got a lot of money to flip
but
from LSU
I
to
do
Michigan.
think that he is I think Jared Curtis is going to make the jump quicker than Bryce Underwood did.
Yeah.
And he still hasn't made his jump yet.
And we talk about Jared Curtis. The physical tools are evident. He is big. He is strong. He's got the arm arrogance that we've talked about in a very good way, that he believes he can make every single throw. He's got mobility. He's got the physical tools to go in and be. I think it's the mental side, like you said, right? Like, he's got to, first off, you've got to be able to run the offense efficiently. Diego Pavia had a whole lot of great assets as a quarterback, but the biggest one was that he always knew where the ball was supposed to go. He always made the right reads on the option plays. He always knew where the ball was supposed to go. And that's what made Vanderbilt so efficient. Jared Curtis is going to have to do that. And that's not an easy ask playing in the SEC as a freshman. And with Curtis, of course, you also have to keep your confidence high because they're going to be road bumps. They're speed bumps. There's going to be potholes in the road that might kill your confidence as an 18-year-old where you've been the best player on the field your entire life. And that's not going to be the case at times during his freshman season. You've got to be able to keep the confidence high. And that's just as much on Curtis as it is on the coaching staff of continuing to coach him up, but let him know how talented he is and that these things are going to happen to anybody as they get adjusted to the SEC.
I'm biased because I played the position, but also at the same time, I believe that I am 100% right in saying quarterback is the hardest position to play in all of sports. And there are going to be days where you think to yourself, I am the worst in the world at what I do. And there are going to be a lot of them. At some point, Jared Curtis is going to have a welcome to college moment. It happens to everybody. You can't let that dissuade you or distract you from what the main goal is. And being asked to start, and I know that Vanderbilt doesn't necessarily have the rich football history that a lot of other schools in the SEC have, but they had a really good year last year. And asking you to start day one as a true freshman at an SEC school is not an easy ask.
Right.
But he's probably going to be asked to do it. We all think that he is.
Right. I mean, I think we all feel like it's more likely than not that he is going to be the starter in week 1 against Austin Peay. Maybe not, but that's what everybody kind of expects to see. But I think he is ready for it, and the ramp up of the schedule is good that you get to see an FCS opponent, a group of 5 opponent, then you get a power conference opponent, and then you're into SEC play. There's a natural ramp up there. We've got some Vols here. One on the YouTube chat, Caleb says Faison is better than Jared. Ricky says Brandon is better than Curtis. I get it. You're going to say that because he's on your team, but none of the recruiting services say that. Like
every single one of them had Jared higher.
Jared
than
Curtis
Faison.
is a better prospect than Faison Brandon. Does that mean he's going to play better this year? I have no idea. We have to go see them play. I have not watched either of them play a real college football game quite yet. But if you're saying Faison Brandon is better than Jared Curtis, I think you're looking through some orange glasses if we're just talking about the recruit, the prospect that they are right now.
I wonder what gives these types of people that are saying that, not necessarily accusing anybody, but how would you know?
Well,
I mean, none of them.
I mean, it's solely based on that he plays for Tennessee.
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
So sure. We'll see what happens on the field. Faison Brandon is a very talented recruit. He's a 5-star prospect, and I expect that he is going to be a good player. But if you're saying right now that you think Faison Brandon is better than Jared Curtis, you're doing that just based on your fandom.
What colors you're wearing on your chest right now.
Right. Exactly. 4312 says UT fan here and Curtis is better. There you go. And again, we don't know what they're going to become. There's plenty of 5-star prospects who don't live up to the hype. And there are plenty of 5-star prospects who maybe were ranked a little bit lower and end up being elite. You never know until they actually start playing real games. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. We will take your thoughts on our phone and text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Last call for phones. We'll wrap up the show after this. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelley, next man up, 102.5 The Game. Next man up, 102.5 The Game. Jake Lyman, Parker Kelley with you. Wrapping up the show on this Tuesday. Chase McCabe, Connor Newt, Chase and Big Joe show coming up after us at noon. Been a fun show today. Nick Suss was great talking Titans. If you missed that, we talked to him at 10 a.m. It'll be up on the podcast. Jake Crain from On3 joined us just about 30 minutes ago talking college football. Tomorrow, Corey Curtis going to be in with us for the full show from News 2.
Who knows where that's going to go?
Well, so I did text him that our plan in our quarterback book club is to watch the first 2 episodes tonight and come back and have a discussion about some of the things we hear about Cam Ward and the other quarterbacks. I would like
that
to
has
say
a nice ring to it.
Yeah.
Quarterback book club?
Quarterback book club.
Oh,
that's what we're going to call.
That is the club I want to be a part of.
That's what we're going to call this over the next few days as we slowly watch it. I'll see if I can get TD involved too. I'm sure TD is going to be watching it. So we'll do our quarterback book club the rest of the week as we watch through the new season that includes Cam Ward. The first 2 episodes, we will be talking about it tomorrow. Corey says he's at least going to try and watch one. So, we'll see how.
I bet TD's already done with it by the time he gets here on Thursday.
Oh,
that would be my guess.
Yeah, I would guess so. So we'll have plenty of quarterback discussion the rest of the week, going through some of the behind the scenes looks we get from Cam Ward at quarterback. And I'm not going to be skipping through the Joe Flacco, Baker Mayfield, Jaden Daniels stuff. I have seen some people, it's like, all right, I just want to see the Cam Wards.
Nah, I'm not that guy either.
Right. I want to see Joe Flacco go through the midseason trade to the Bengals.
My guess is Joe Flacco is going to be similar to what we saw Kirk Cousins in season 1.
Yeah.
Just on a smaller scale. Kirk Cousins was also in season 2, wasn't he?
He was in 2. Yeah. He was in both of the seasons so far. It was
stud.
It was Mahomes, Cousins, Mariota the first season, and then it was Burrow, Cousins, and Goff the second one. So, Ward, Jaden Daniels, Baker Mayfield, Joe Flacco. We will talk some quarterback tomorrow with Corey Curtis starting at 9 a.m. Let's finish with this. We kind of breezed past this, but the NCAA's 5-5 eligibility model that they put forth a few weeks ago has gotten a lot of pushback in the courts. Last week, an Ohio judge granted 24 athletes their temporary restraining order or their injunction to play for a 5th year, including our old friend MJ Collins, who's going to play at Cincinnati this year. He gets a 5th year play. He played at Virginia Tech. He played at Vanderbilt. He played at Utah State, and now he is finishing his career at Cincinnati, and along with 23 other athletes who got that TRO. Now you've got 11 athletes taking a federal lawsuit against the NCAA to try and get their eligibility rules, which I believe if they were able to gain that injunction, that would allow everybody who has a 5th year to play. I may not be correct on that, but that's similar to what we saw with Diego Pavia and his ruling with the junior college stuff. So this could be a very, very interesting few weeks as we gear up for the 2026 collegiate athletics year, that it's possible we could see some other, some new players entering the fold as they come back and gain an extra year of eligibility.
I think 2 things can be true at the same time. One, this 5x5, even if you're a traditionalist like me, is a fair compromise, because we were having people suing the courts left and right to try and gain 5, 6. I mean, Chandler Morris sued for a 7th year of eligibility. We saw Cam McCormick at Oregon and Miami played a total of 9 seasons. So there was always going to be pushback on this, and it shouldn't be a surprise that people are trying to get this back retroactively, because if this is going to be a thing moving forward, I could understand, well, why can't I get a 5th year? The truth is, it is a fair compromise because it makes it very black and white and very little gray. So I'm a fan of the rule personally, but there was always going to be pushback.
Yeah, you have to draw the line somewhere. And I think it made sense for the NCAA to draw the line where they did. Say, if your eligibility has expired, you're not going to get another year, but everybody who still is eligible can take whichever model gives them the most benefit. They can choose. But you're right. There was always going to be some pushback from these athletes, because this group, the class of 2022 in high school that came into college in 2022, they got the short end of the stick, where they missed out on the extra COVID year that the athletes who were still in college in 2020 and 2021 got, but they're also not getting the extra year because of the 5-5 that everybody from the class of 2023 on is going to get. So it's one class that missed out on the front end and also missed out on the back end. So I do understand why these athletes are upset about this and they're going about it this way. But the NCAA had to draw the line somewhere. And with coaches and athletic departments planning their scholarships year by year by year, adding all of these players back in and forcing these coaches to make decisions, I just feel like it wasn't a good idea. And that's why the players are having to take this to the courts.
It was getting excessive. And I really don't see these lawsuits really stopping unless, one, the Protecting College Sports Act passes the Senate floor, which, by the way, it has a good shot of doing so, or we get collective bargaining in there. We get actual, real contracts that have consequences if you happen to break those, or buyouts or whatever. But I'm excited to see if this Protecting College Sports thing, because it's due to be heard in the Senate floor pretty soon. So there's a good chance that we could get some news on that maybe before the month of August.
Well, right. Yeah. I think you'd want to have a solution one way or the other before competition begins. And athletic competition starts earlier than you would think in college sports. Like volleyball, I want to see when the first matches are for like volleyball and soccer, because it gets going they
get going like
early August.
Yeah, it's pretty soon.
So let's see.
Because, along with football, it was always soccer, volleyball, the next teams to report.
Yeah.
And they were always a couple, for me, it was always, they were always a couple weeks after football.
Right.
Because football got there insanely early.
Yeah. Football's basically there year round,
yep.
Except for February. But I mean, you got classes, so I don't know what you're supposed to do.
They have some time off, like a couple weeks in between,
right.
Like for 4th of July during the traditional dead period.
Right.
But if you're at a Division I school, specifically in the FBS Power 4, it's a year-round thing.
Yeah, it looks like Soccer and Vanderbilt start exhibition games and matches in second week of August. So we're within a month of the new athletic year starting. You've got to have some clarity on what this situation is going to look like. Are these players getting their eligibility back? Is there going to be some sort of resolution in the Senate? We're too late for collective bargaining. That's going to be probably months, years down the road. But
absolutely.
But congressional intervention, like we've talked about, I mean, it is going to hit the Senate floor, and there's a chance that something happens. So still a lot of balls in the air when it comes to just the landscape of college sports. And I don't think that's going to change for a while until we get some sort of concrete resolution one way or the other.
No, I don't know. I don't know when to expect that to, but the fact that the Protecting College Sports Act is at this point, it's further than any bill has ever been. The SCORE Act, the SAFE Act.
Yeah.
Both of those were, they tried to push those, but it never made it to the point of the Protecting College Sports Act. And the fact that it's a bipartisan bill is a big deal in itself, because that never happens. So
right.
I do think it has a good chance of passing. And the interesting part about it is they need 75% agreement of all 138 schools in FBS. So if you, and the SEC and Big Ten have already come out and said they're opposed to it, they don't need the SEC and Big Ten to be on board. And actually, there are coaches in the SEC and in the Big Ten who support it. It's just they're in the minority.
Yes, and that's a very good point. That 70. So you said 75 out of 138?
75. So if every school in the FBS is in support of this Protecting College Sports Act, and every team in the SEC and Big Ten are not, the bill would still pass.
Yeah, that would still be 104.
But my guess is there will be a few schools in the SEC and Big Ten respectively that will be in support.
Yeah, that maybe cross the picket
that are
line.
not coming out publicly right now and saying they're against it.
Alabama and Auburn came out publicly against it, but yeah, you're right. There has been,
and both commissioners, Petiti and Sankey, have been against it.
There's been significant pushback from the SEC and the Big Ten about the Protect College Sports Act. So that's something to keep an eye on here as well. It's list season. It's courtroom season. I can't wait for it to just be football season again.
You're preaching to the choir
here. 4312 says the upcoming Senate hearing I can't wait for is the Always Daylight Savings Time Act. Come on, pass it. I agree. It's time to stop falling back.
Why do we have to move the clock at all?
Yeah, I don't know. It was a good idea back when it started, but we don't need it anymore. We don't.
So
just keep it.
We've solved two of America's biggest issues, right?
Right.
Keep the time how it is now and no fall weddings. It will be good.
There we go.
I think all of our issues will be fixed.
Right.
If those two things happen.
Solving the nation's issues here on Next Man Up. We don't need daylight savings anymore. Arizona has it right. They just flip back and forth. They don't flip back and forth. They stay right where they are and let the entire country go one way or the other.
Man, we all need to copy Arizona.
Yeah. Be more like Arizona.
Let's be more like Arizona.
Yeah. That'll about wrap things up for us. Again, tomorrow, Corey Curtis is going to join us. Excited to have Corey on. We will react to quarterback. It is out. I have tried to avoid spoilers, Parker, but I've seen some things about quarterback. Again, spoilers probably isn't the right word because it's like you already know all of this has happened. There's no new information that's coming about how Cam Ward played, but it's like some of the stuff behind the scenes and the quotes that he has, I'm excited to see those live and in my own eyes. So we will be watching the first 2 episodes tonight. We will report back tomorrow. Corey Curtis joins us at 9 a.m. We will talk to you then. Coming up next, Chase and Big Joe with Chase McCabe and Connor Newt. Keep it right here on 102.5 The Game.